Homes that consistent. General order for resistance. HOLC system. Robin's airport resistance. Resistance. Black Wall Street resistance. DR New Deal assistance. Rendered off executive order resistance. General order for resistance. HOLC system. Robin's airport system. Black Wall Street resistance. DR in the system. Turn off executive order resistance. Early setting hardy. Reeboks and experience at the early setting hardy. Even with aspirants at the early 1900s. That when niggas rule for early 1900s. We were black and beautiful. Reeboks and experience at the early setting hardy. Even with aspirants at the early 1900s. That when niggas rule for early 1900s. We were black and beautiful. Homes that consistent. General order for resistance. HOLC system. Robin's airport resistance. System. Black Wall Street resistance. FBA News Updates system. Went off executive order resistance. Early Saint Audrey, we blacks for respiration. Early Saint Audrey, we men with respiration. Early 1900s, early 1900s, we were black and beautiful. We blacks for respiration. Early Saint Audrey, we men with respiration. Early 1900s, there were nigga rules. Early 1900s, we were black and beautiful. Homes that are consistent. General order for resistance. HOLC system. Robin's airport system. Legacies transit. Black Wall Street resistance. Eddie R. Distant. Feel a brand off executive order resistant.
Had to check the mic. Peace to the family, grand rising, peace to the family. Want to thank those who have been super chatting and the cash apps. I want to thank people who've been cash apping because I'll be in these diners for 3-4 hours and I couldn't justify being here without the cash apps. You feel me? Well, I mean, as long as you're spending, they'll leave you alone. So I want to thank, the supporters for the cash apps. Definitely been justifying me being in these diners for 3-4 hours. But trust me, they would love to kick me out. Just because I'm FBA, just because I'm what the lady is. But they can't justify it. You dig? So I'm chilling. But this is why I've been coming on later. So be coming on later in the day because trust me, it'd be crazy. But I would rather start at 8 a.m., 9 a.m. But again, If you at a diner from 8 a.m. and you there to 1:42 p.m., they want some spending to be done. You feel me? That's why I got the Cash App thing there. All right. But we learned yesterday. We learned yesterday that the green in the red, black, and green flag, the Pan-African flag that they throw out there as the real flag. The American flag ain't our real flag. It's the Pan-African flag. But meanwhile, none of the 54 countries got the red, black, and green as their national flag. No island has the red, black, and green Marcus Garvey flag as their national flag. But they want us to adopt it as our national flag. Not happening, never happened, and it never will happen. And if they thought there was a glimpse of chance, now after we found out that the green was dedicated to the Fighting Irish, we're gonna cover a little bit of that later on. But let's go into this tether rant.
Which is another reason why I think a lot of African people, especially Africans who are first generation American, are feeling the way they feel because they spent their entire childhood and teen years having their culture disrespected, being made fun of, being picked on and teased on. When being picked on
So she just said that their entire culture has been disrespected by us. Listen to this. Listen to this tether rant.
and teased on by other black people. Because that's always the kicker. When the people shitting on you are your own people, it's really confusing. So I fully understand why a lot of African people are so touchy, especially.
So they're touchy because we have been shitting on them, according to this tether. Listen, they just make up history out of thin air, like magic.
When it comes to American black people, because of everything that happened when we were kids. Because my mother is older than.
Wait a minute. So we've been tormenting them as they were kids. Listen to this revision. I mean, I can't even say revision. It's just completely made up that we've been tormenting, traumatizing them when they were kids. Now, the way she's telling it, you'll be led to believe that we were adults and they were kids. Right. But when she finished talking, or we know the story to be, if anybody was called a name, you were a kid and we were a kid. It wasn't an adult or a kid. It was kid on kid. Jokes. But now they want to spread it to every tether. They all been traumatized by the mean FBA kids. Meanwhile, we got testimonies where we called each other the same name. They're only going to African booty scratcher. We got testimonies that we've been called the same name. We called everybody that, and also immigrants use that terminology towards us and other immigrants. We got testimony of that. So this isn't a word that's just been one way. So this African booty scratcher word is similar to like how we say Nigga today. I was at the park yesterday and there was a bunch of Latinos, there at the park, one boy and two girls, and they were calling themselves Nigga. So let me guess, they're so trying. So stop it. So African booty scratch probably was the first Nigga word. Just on a kid level. Everybody was called it. Everybody called each other that. Just like people, grown adults now and teenagers call themselves Nigga today. We're not traumatized. They're not traumatized, right? Because it's used in a particular context. But let the tether continue to lie.
Than me. She talked about
What would tethers do? All they can do is lie. We got a phrase. All tethers do is lie.
the fact that they used to refer to African kids as African booty scratchers, and they had mean and disrespectful nicknames for them too back then. And my mom was growing up when it's like the whole I think it was like the 70s. So that's when everyone was all pro black and everyone had afro. And even back then, they had issues with African people. Personally, when I first saw this challenge, I was not fucking with it at all. I saw how over the top People were, how disrespectful people were, and it was a no for me. I was like, I'm not really feeling this. This challenge is not for me. I personally don't believe people's cultures should be trends, especially a culture that is so disrespected like African culture. And yes, I'm using African culture as just a broad term because there's so many different cultures there, so many different people there. I can't even get into it, but just know as a whole, African culture is so disrespected, especially the food. I always remember how disrespected African food was, so I can definitely see why a lot of people, again, it just wasn't fucking with this off top. So now let's fast forward to this weekend. Aaliyah J posts her Fufu challenge video, and the girls wasn't fucking with it. The girls were not with it. It truly was an ignorant ass video. I unfortunately had to watch it to do this video because I didn't want to go into here blind and just talk on my ass. But the video, I know that she did like cut out some stuff. She does this video with her boyfriend, who is Kenyan himself, and he has stated, I think on Twitter or Instagram, that he has never liked, because every culture has like, so fufu is like, every culture in Africa that has fufu, they have like their own version of fufu. Everyone's different. Some people, they make it with potatoes, yams, it's all different depending on where you go. Some is pounded. It's all, again, specific to the region. Fufu is different, might have a different name, but they all have something similar like it. He's from Kenya. He never liked the Kenyan version of whatever fufu is. He hated it as a kid. Again, I get texture. I like texture fufu. I would never be on camera doing that shit though, but I don't like it. And they're being very, very ignorant, very disrespectful. A lot of the comments made was just of pure ignorance, asking if like African people eat shrimp. Anyways, I think at one point he does refer to the fufu as dog food. Aaliyah J actually ended up getting the heat for that comment, even though it was definitely her boyfriend that said it. And I feel bad in that regard that like she's getting dragged for that. She might be getting dragged because it's her video. I think it's because she's a black woman. Y'all hold black men accountable. But anyways, so like a lot of really ignorant shit was said in that video. She ended up editing a lot of that out. Twitter gets to dragging, and justifiably so. It was an ignorant ass video, and I feel like the disdain for the fufu challenge was well known. Because if I knew about it, I knew a lot of African people weren't fucking with it. You, Aaliyah J, whose job is to be on the internet, should also been aware that a lot of people were not cool with the fufu challenge. I don't understand why we're doing challenges and not doing a little research. So we don't. Why are y'all so allergic to doing everything you need to do to not get dragged? Just do your due diligence. Because now look at you. You was getting dragged. So after getting thoroughly scalped by Twitter, Aaliyah posted this apology that states, "Hey guys, something I found to be an innocent trend." Again, there are plenty of people, African content.
But a lot of times where we get stuck is the details of what kind of plunder we're talking about, what kind of money it takes to repair the damage done, who gets it, and how they get it. So talk to me a little bit about ADOS's policy vision as it pertains to reparations.
Well, ADOS, the ADOS Advocacy Foundation, we are committed to cash payments. And we are committed to cash payments to a specific group of people, right? And those are American descendants of slavery. Now, we have a transformative Black agenda that includes all Black people. But in terms of reparations, those are the people that built the country and have been systemically, methodically oppressed since then. So you have to have a method, not only for cash payments, but for programs to protect that wealth. Because you can give wealth to a group of people and then that money is plundered by white supremacy and super capitalists who would like nothing more than to take it away from us. So we have to have certain protections, but we absolutely have to have cash payments. And this absolutely has to be a federal government initiative in terms of how we do this and how we have outlays and appropriations and things of that nature. It has to happen that way.
Cash payments, how much we talking?
I like to talk about it as a down payment. I don't like to talk about it because I always say it this way. It takes a lot more time to heal a wound than it takes to inflict a wound. And America has been inflicting a wound for 400 years plus. So it's going to take longer than that to actually heal that wound and close the racial wealth gap, which we like to call the lineage wealth gap. It's going to take longer than that. So I like to call it a down payment. But I think we're talking about at least 20 trillion. That's where we are. Down payment.
$20 trillion. So, and it's an interesting number when you think about what happened during the pandemic, when American capitalism was on the brink, when Trump's presidency was looking shaky, when the heads of multinational corporations were like, what are we going to do? They found $1 trillion real quick for America, right? So the idea of not being able to recover $20 trillion is somewhat less plausible than it was before, because there was a time people, you almost sounded like Dr. Evil saying anything with a T in it, right? But now that amount of money doesn't sound crazy anymore to people. But for the person who asks, how do we get that money? Where does it come from? How do you sustain a budget? How do you sustain an economy while giving $20 trillion to a 13% of the people, and really less than 13% of the people, if you're talking about ADOS lineage, right? How do you do that? What do you say to that person?
Well, I say to everybody, I'm not mandating or demanding that everything happen at one time. I'm not demanding that. This is a project. And this is a formidable project. We actually have to have processes in place. So if we want to start the project and say we have 2 trillion this year, and we have 1 trillion next year, and we have 3 trillion, we can do that. But the problem in America isn't how, because everybody found a way to give Guam reparations, even though it wasn't on the level of ADOS. Everybody found a way to give Japanese Americans reparations, even though it's not on the level of American descendants of slavery. The problem that we have is not how do we do this. The problem that we have is people who don't believe that we should do this. And so I'm more than willing to enter into negotiations and conversations with people who are asking about the how, because the how is something we can figure out. This doesn't have to be, listen, this country did this in a multi-generational way, and we can fix this in a multi-generational way. It doesn't have to all happen today, but it has to happen. And we can enter into that conversation with people of goodwill who want to see this happen. The problem that America has is that there are not enough people, and Martin Luther King Jr. said this himself about even liberals who just kind of tolerate us rather than want the best for us or want justice for us. We need to deal with those people and have an honest conversation with them, because I can figure out the how. The 20 trillion doesn't have to happen all in 2020, 2021, or 2022, or 2023. We can figure out a process, but it has to happen. And people have to be willing and have the will to do it.
One of the things that ADOS gets criticized the most for, and I've been critical of you, and you know this, I've told you directly, is the conversations that often emerge from people who identify as ADOS around nativism, right? There often becomes a discourse that emerges online from people with the ADOS hashtag, and I'm using that language very carefully because you've said to me before, that ain't us, right? You know, the people may use the hashtag, that don't mean they represent us. But is there any room for a conversation, in your estimation, around how ADOS and its sort of commitment to talking about descendants of slavery may alienate people who come from other parts of the continent, may undermine a Pan-African agenda, or may kind of replicate, whether it's through the American flag imagery or through constantly talking about a certain kind of lineage, almost replicate a certain kind of American nationalism?
Well, I think we have to make a sort of delineation, right? There's a difference between nationalism and nativism. We're proud of the country that we built. We're proud of the slaves who built the country. We are absolutely proud of our freedom struggle through Jim Crow, mass incarceration. We're proud that we're still here. So, what I would say is, we are absolutely have a right to be proud of what we built, right? The same way that a Jamaican American is absolutely proud of their history of coming out of slavery. The same way a Haitian is absolutely proud of Toussaint L'Ouverture. We're proud in the same way, and you have to let us have that. We are a specific ethnic lineage. That's who we are. Now, there have been a lot of diaspora wars, but let me say this. A lot of those wars were not started by us. And a lot of those wars, we were defending ourselves. People call me the granddaughter of a cotton picker, right? People call me all sorts of names because I come from sharecroppers. And the problem that I have with a lot of Pan-Africanists is that they will look at me and say, oh my gosh, you have people behaving in ways that are unproductive. And I want to say, you have a lot of people who are behaving in ways that are white supremacists. They are behaving in ways where they co-sign white supremacy. We saw on CNN somebody say something, an anchor said something about America's the greatest country. I could never have done this in another country. Meanwhile, we as ADOS see this, we see what America has done to us. And we see that a lot of people are not very respectful of not only what we have endured, behaving in ways that are white supremacy. We have opened up to them to come here. If it wasn't for us and our freedom struggle, there would be no black and brown people here. And so we see a lot of disrespect coming our way. So I think the people who criticize us need to also criticize the people who disparage us as well. I only see criticism coming in our direction, and that's a problem for me.
I think that's fair. So let's stipulate for a minute that there's a lot of outside criticism coming towards you that's unfair. And what do you say though about the criticisms that are being levied towards ADOS for these ideas around sort of being anti-immigrant, sort of this, not just sort of having critique of Pan-Africanism, but almost deriding it? I mean, again, maybe all of this isn't part of the fundamental ideology, but it certainly plays out in the kind of primary space where ADOS conversations are having, which is online, as much of our conversations are for everybody. How do you think that it's gotten unwieldy because it's online and because you can't have you can't control who hashtags it? Do you feel like the messaging hasn't been clear, or do you think that this is just part and parcel of how this kind of politics go?
Well, I think you're right on. There have been people who just throw the hashtag in because they want clout, and they do that on Clubhouse, they do that on Twitter, they do it on social media, everywhere.
And now they're saying, could plus applicants could you give a plus to applicants whose parents were immigrants to this country? I think is that race neutral? I think that if he basically said yes, right? There is this argument about whether lineage is a proxy for race and whether lineage is race neutral. I would argue that it's race neutral in a sense that this is not about race. And I would argue that by using other black immigrants and using our wealth disparities and a whole bunch of stuff. Like, you can't say ADOS is a proxy for race when you have black immigrants in this country who have very different experience, very different outcomes, et cetera, et cetera. So that's not a racial, that's a lineal. Again, though, what I'm drawing your attention to is not the argument that I would make or that I would want to be made from the Supreme Court. What I'm drawing your attention to is the conversation that's happening at the Supreme Court. We're all very well aware that the Supreme Court is looking at this and saying, well, we're not sure. This may be a lineage, may be a proxy for race. I would argue against that. The issue, though, is this is the fight. The fight isn't over. They have decided that we're not doing race. We got to have strict, not broad. They have said we're going to get into the Supreme Court case in a minute that shows you they have said we have to have, this has to be strict. Redress is strict. It's not broad. I don't know when the Supreme Court says something, even if you disagree with it, and I don't.
that microphone's off. I was saying that, you see, redress has to be strict. You got to be narrow. It can't be broad. So the mere fact that Pan-Africans make it race-based, that means they make it broad and not lineage-based narrow. And they also brag about doing it first. Oh, we were doing reparations before FBA and ADOS. Well, then you knew that it had to be strict and narrow. It couldn't be broad. But you still pushed for a race-based reparations claim. That is to family. That is clear, deliberate, intentional sabotage. Making it broad when the Supreme Court said it cannot be that way. It has to be strict and narrow. And they still made it broad. Like, what else do we need? Like, these folks are ops, agents, informants, stupid enemies, however you want to label them. They're that. They're that.
I think
And that's why I say anybody who supports Pan-Africanism, even in the slightest way, like, I would like to have a conversation with you, because I just think like you're not too far from being, an op or all-out agent, because to me, there's just a contradiction in the ideology of Pan-Africanism and the FBA on code ideology or movement, or however you want to label it. It's just a contradiction, Pan-Africanism and what we're trying to do with ourselves in America. I don't think they both can exist at the same time. If you think so, ask for the link, phone number, and please explain.
it makes sense that it's only for lineage. I think it's too strict in terms of how they interpret it with different cases, but we're not gonna get into all that. I'm saying that this is the only conversation that they're having. Ain't nobody having no other conversation about can you be just black? That's not the conversation that's happening. And you can't broaden that conversation, especially on a conservative court. There's no way to broaden that conversation. The only thing you can do is if you go before that court, you hope and you put together a case specific to lineage that makes sense. There is no road, understand me when I say this, there is no road to reparations through Pan-Africanism or flat blackness. It does not exist. And the people who say that it exists, they always come back, and I'll get to Dr. Greg Carr's tweets in a second, come back and say, well, what about Reconstruction? We did stuff based on race then. That's because there were no black immigrants here. We didn't even have immigrants. We didn't even have many immigrants here. It was black people, ex-slaves, don't even say black, ex-slaves, and white people. Black, white, right? So that's what you had. So yes, you had racial remedies.
Right. So family, they are very disingenuous by even doing that. Like, again, they're not considering context at all. Everything is black and white. No pun. But yeah, after Emancipation Proclamation, they were just mainly white and blacks here. That's it. Like, even the Spanish people were labeled or, naturalized as white. So just like literally just white and black.
That doesn't capture the era that we're in. And one of the intellectual failing of the Pan-Africanist movement is not to keep up with the dates and age. We are in 2023, baby, and you are still in 1865 and 1864 and 3 and 2 as if nothing has changed. You got to get it together. You have some intellectual issues that are showing. But let me just go back.
Let me down.
Oh, we were going to talk about the Diaspora Wars.
Diaspora
We
Wars
always
2.
hit on really good topics that we never put down for next time.
Diaspora Wars 2, the run back.
All right, so listen to these tethers. They even invited a white guy in the diaspora war subject, which is like ridiculous. Listen to these tethers.
Back, damn it.
I mean, we kind of cut out a whole part, so you might as well just slide this on the air. But yeah, so recently, so after Black Panther, I thought we were all together.
Oh, that was so cute in your night, bro. I respect it.
In our blackness, I thought every black person would understand.
So you thought after Black Panther came out,
We were all
there was
one.
like every black person synchronized and we're in harmony?
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. And I was like, yeah,
I respect
that
that
shit.
view so much because it's so pure.
Wakanda forever. And then I remember, and then you got Kugler's interview about how we're not really different, how we all still share the same customs and stuff like that. And I was like, I feel that shit, man. We together. Yes, we doing this shit. We out here, black folks. Gang, gang. Um,
And then
and then I slowly started to see Twitter devolve, Black Twitter specifically, devolve into intercultural wars between our black brethren, mainly those between that are like from African descent, like straight up African descent. And yes, we doing this shit. We out here, black folks. And I've definitely noticed that there's some resentment, and I never really seen this. I've seen African kids get made fun of, African booty scratchers, stuff like that. Heard it all my life. So
There we go.
I understand why a lot of Africans may have issues with Black Americans or because they got made fun of. But
So you will have issues with FBA adults over what they claim elementary kids said. Family, this is the biggest cap ever. African booty scratcher. That must be the worst name you can give somebody, according to these tethers. It's so traumatizing. Oh my God. It deprives you from all type of uh
I never noticed the resentment that I guess Black Americans had held against Africans or whatever. I guess because they seem to be looking down at the Black American for, I guess, not being hard worker. They get tossed a lot of like the anti-Black sentiments that white people get tossed that tossed at us all the time. And I had no idea that was a big deal. But after reading like a bunch of like tweets and stuff like that, I was like, wow, I was completely wrong. And just hearing Yvonne Orji's interview at the Breakfast Club or whatever about her being Charlemagne asked her, so do you think Africans think they're superior to
all right. So I just wanna give you some of what's out there. Okay. All right. So let's get to this. Let's get to this. So I want to bring you back here when this person responded to Dr. Mayat's video that did horrible in terms of views. Now she's a woman who claims that she did so much for the community and she got degrees and all type of blah 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 and everybody and nobody. She has this elitist belief or this elitist ideology. So this person, I had to screenshot it before she deleted it because I couldn't find it when I went there myself afterwards. So this person said, people are reluctant to support you because you flip-flop. They said one day you're a freedman and the next day you provide a platform for a freedman hater. I'm a Wally. And they should have said, and you don't give them any pushback. So then you spoon feed him questions to get him to say more hateful things. All right. It says the people are losing faith in you and it's showing in your views. IGS, get on code. So I don't think there's anything negative that was coming from those comments. They're pointing out this looks like a supporter who's like losing faith in her platform and in Dr. Mayat. And they want her to get on code. They want to support her, but they're like, yo, you've fallen off. You're selling out to Pan-Africanism and FBA hate. So you think she would say, oh, I mean, maybe nothing or just, but when I read her comment, I just couldn't believe that she said this. She said flip-flop only to an unlearned person with poor comprehension. Now, family, I went back looking for this comment. I didn't see it, but two other people had an issue with her video and just her. And they said something to her And she responded the same way. They're unlearned. They don't have comprehension. So anybody who disagrees with her FBA hate, her ADOS, Freedmen hate, they're unlearned. So she's taking this elitist approach. She has a degree. She has a doctor's degree, and everybody else should just bow down. Okay. So she said flip flop to an unlearned person with poor comprehension. Okay. I do more for FBA youth than any of the personalities you watch on YouTube. I don't need or desire your support. Whatever. I don't know how she can like quantify like she FBA did more for FBA youth than the person who gave her that comment. I don't even know how that even comes to question. So family, do we really think the people out here that's involved with the youth are online or on YouTube? Right? There's some people who knows nothing about diaspora war, the FBA, and they just out here just pouring out their heart. Most people who do stuff for the youth, they just do it because that's their calling. Okay. Ask Dr. Maya how much she done that was free because she's all for like programs they pay and DVDs. You got to pay for it. So some people get pour out their charitable, free time, free efforts, and they really engage with the youth in their cities, like not random youth that are Pan-African children. You dig? Some folks actually go out here and interact with the youth in their city, and they're well respected in their city. Now, she lives in Baltimore. I don't believe her activism is like known and like popular in Baltimore. I don't believe she's out there like that. Anyway, she said, "Who are you?" Well, they're a supporter. She said, "Who are you? Who should they be?" Hold on. Who are you? And I'm asking the family, who should they be? They're just a person who was a supporter of her and they're giving some loving criticism. And she asked, "Who are you?" A supporter, a clown behind the keyboard. You keep typing while I keep working. Okay. Our resumes don't compare. I don't think so. People got to have a comparable resume to give criticism nowadays. I mean, okay. Again, that's the elitist attitude. You're lucky I even responded to you. So this person got a treat. The doctor responded to this person. So this person is like lucky. I bet your favorite YouTube personalities don't, I guess, respond to your comments. They don't even know your name, weirdo. Um, so all of that, then this is complete personal to a person who just said, "Hey, you're losing focus of your channel," or at least what they thought the channel was about. Like they thought the channel was about Black American love and just no hate. They didn't know that she was a Pan-Africanist who had this resentment towards nativist, nativist Black Americans. So like that's why I say it's impossible to be it's impossible to be a Pan-Africanist and also have a lineage to America's slavery and be on code. I don't think because I think you're gonna behave like this right here eventually. Okay, so let me get rid of that. So now this is myself. Now this is a African tether who got videos all about FBA. You know how they do. I mean, like she just started her YouTube channel and like it's dedicated to just speak on FBAs. Like they're trying to make a career of disparaging us and being disrespectful. So I said, interesting that you call Black Americans bots because they point out the disrespect that some Africans express in our presence. Can I invite you to my podcast to go over this? I think you guys see me type this live. Look, so she confirmed my catchphrase. They love to talk about us and they hate to talk to us. As she says, "Thank you for the invitation. However," she says, "however, your comment denotes you heard what you wanted to hear, not what I said."
Excuse me. Can you just tell me what time it is?
Said, "I don't find these conversations on podcasts productive when one party goes into it already misunderstanding the other." I mean, how deep does she think this is? I will decline, but thank you for the invite and best of wishes on the podcast. So this is what I shared this. I'm starting to screenshot them declining. But meanwhile, all of her videos are about us. And like in a disrespectful way. We started it, and Africans are innocent, and or it goes both ways. So this all they do, family. So I just screenshot to show you. Like they love to talk about us, but they hate to talk to us because they gotta confront the reality that they sold us. They gotta confront the reality that their parents trained them early in their life to delineate from us, to be divisive, be prejudiced, and judgmental. So when these kids come into our school systems with this behavior, yes, we're going to respond. We're going to defend ourselves, and we're going to call them names and have jokes for them. But remember, they came with the energy their mother brainwashed them with. Now they claim they get that energy from movies, music. So they justify these prejudices. They justify these stereotypes and why they are allowed to express them to kids. So so you train your kids, so you learn, you watch movies. Movies are fictional, by the way. You listen to music. Music is for the most part fictional. And you take those two um scenarios and you paint every FBA as what you believe you heard from the music. And by the way, we have good music that paint us in a positive, and we have just look at Usher stuff, and then we have good movies that paint us in a positive way. A lot of Denzel Washington stuff, a lot of Spike Lee, a lot of Robert Townsend, a lot of Bill Cosby. So I mean, it's we know better. We know it's just hate, and they're desperately trying to justify their hate towards us. Okay. So I got some more tether babble that's trying to explain diaspora wars from a tether perspective. Check this out. This is 1 month ago. Okay. And this guy he just started his YouTube channel, and already he's talking about diaspora wars. Family, tethers try to make $1 off us. That's why I say, man, stop going to their live streams. Let Tether Dream channel flop. Don't go there to troll. Don't go there for nothing, because you're just adding to his view. They don't care about supporters or haters coming to their live stream. They just care about numbers, right? They just, as long as the numbers make sense to them, they don't care if it's all haters or trolls. They don't care. So let's not go there at all. Let's let their channel flop like they are doing. This guy, these folks I'm showing you, channels did not hit. All garbage channels. Check this out.
Hello, everyone. So, this is Gene Tiag History, and today I want to talk about something that has been affecting the Black race a lot, especially online.
Family, he only got 9 subscribers, family. So one of his first videos is about diaspora wars. They see this as a money grab, and then they misrepresent us. Like they don't even tell the real of it.
And even in real life, and that is diaspora wars. So, to begin with, we first have to discuss what a diaspora war is, or what the diaspora wars are, and who is a part of it before we really break it down and get into the middle of it. So, what are diaspora wars? So, obviously, in this case,
So just real quick, when I read Dr. Maya comments, I kind of knew she'll come with that when she come on. Because she agreed to come on my channel to talk about diaspora wars and FBA. Okay, and she declined after a while. After 3 times reaffirming she's gonna come through, and now she had no show. But I already knew, family. I already knew that she was gonna come with the elitist attitude. When I challenged her and her Pan-Africanism bullshit, I know that she's gonna be like, "Well, how many degrees you had? What school did you go to? What work did you do?" And no, I don't have your degrees at all. But what you're not gonna do is try to compare activism with me. Not with me. Not with me. Family, I joined the largest black organization in America today. When I was like 25 years old, I didn't wait till I was an old hag to start to love black people. Okay, I joined the largest black organization when I was 25 years old because I felt like we need to overcome systemic racism. And that largest black organization is the Nation of Islam. I joined that when I was 25 years old because I felt like what I was seeing needed to be stopped, right? The crime in our cities, the disrespect from white people and racism. And there was no tether issue at that time. So I believe we were all black type of bullshit. But yeah, so I knocked on doors. We had so many, you can imagine, you guys see the movies. We have so many community events, inviting the people out, engaging in real time, knocking on, like going through projects. So you got to be careful who you say don't have the same resume or they're not comparable. Because I can argue that her resume is nowhere near comparable with mine when it comes to activism in my community. And by the way, I'm totally respected in my community. At IBM, me and Focus is from the same community. We are both highly respected by our peers, the elders, the youth, and the gangs. And the gangs, both of us are highly respected in our communities. So she, I don't understand why she would just make a blanket statement like that and say resumes can't compare. Now, I don't come on here bragging about that type stuff because that doesn't matter right now. But family, I got videos of myself speaking in public forums at an early age. All right, that I play here and there, but again, I'm not trying to be Papa. I'm not trying to be the Prince of Pan-Africanism. I'm not trying to be a leader. So I let those things be where they are, archived, and I it's a new thought, new people, new lineage. Well, not new lineage, but new ethnonym, old lineage, new ethnonym. You dig? New evolution.
I'm focusing on the African or the Black diaspora, and this is essentially in fighting between different ethnic groups of the same racial group. So we're going to get into the different ethnic groups at some point, but they're all a part of the Black race and they're fighting amongst themselves. So racially they are the same, but they have different ethnic pockets that makes them different despite them sharing the same race. So there are a lot of different parties in the Black diaspora if I'm solely just focusing on Black people. And obviously, if I include mixed people, the list would be a lot larger and there'd be many other parties. But just for
Now, the first thing you notice is that this dude
simplicity
sounds
reason,
zesty
I'm
as
just
hell.
going to focus on the overwhelmingly Black populations. And I could list them all down, but honestly, there's really only 3 or 4 main parties in this that's really going to be focused on here. So the first party in this, it's honestly self-explanatory, are continental Africans. And this is, not to say it's confusing, but this is a grouping that involves several countries in it because Africa is a continent. And obviously, it's the original source for where everyone in the diaspora came from. But with Africa, not only are there different regions like West Africa, South Africa, East Africa, and North Africa, where most North Africans aren't black, so they're really not included in this, and Central Africa, most of the descendants of the diaspora are descendants of West and Central Africans, though obviously there are some from the other areas in Africa too. And what's kind of weird about grouping all of them together is that there are so many different tribes in certain countries, much less the continent. Different regions of the continent have different customs, genetic makeups, and all of that. But yeah, they're kind of grouped together in this, and because they're the original source, they kind of have a some would say that they have the superiority attitude due to it, but we're going to get more into that a bit later. The second major group in the diaspora are African Americans, or otherwise known as Black Americans, otherwise known as ADOS, which is American descendants of slavery, hopefully I got that correctly, or otherwise known as foundational Black Americans. And the thing with them is that they are the Black people who were in America before they went independent and became their own country. So people who migrated to America a generation or two ago are not foundational Black Americans. People who migrated to America in 1920 are not foundational Black Americans. You have to descend from the Black people who were in the United States before it became an official independent country. So you have to have at least 200 years of lineage in the United States to be a foundational Black American. If you do not descend from those slaves who were the Black people who were in the country before independence, you're not a foundational Black American. So the thing with Black Americans, or foundational Black Americans, is that a lot of the culture, or a lot of what's promoted about Blackness and Black people, tends to either be inspired from or outright comes from Black Americans, and that they tend to be the most visible group in the diaspora, or even out of the diaspora, when they think of Black people and their cultural contributions. So that's the main thing with them, and we're going to get into how they interconnect, or the exact opposite with other groups in the diaspora. And the third main criteria, or the main grouping of this diaspora wars, are Afro-Caribbean people. Obviously, the Caribbean is a geographic region that encompasses a bunch of islands and the Guyanas in South America, essentially. But this term, Afro-Caribbeans, or when you're talking about Black Caribbean people, they are usually referencing Anglo and Franco-Caribbean, or essentially non-Hispanic Caribbean people. So like Jamaican people, Haitian people, Trinidadian people, Guyanese people, Bayesian people, Bahamian people, that type. And I think this is the case because these regions have
Dude is so zesty, man.
overwhelming Black populations, where that's not the case in the Hispanic Caribbean. We're going to talk about them soon enough. And these people are descendants of the slaves that were in the Caribbean before each of those countries became independent countries. But a lot of these Caribbean countries have huge diasporas. So when they move to the US, the UK, or Canada, they're still Afro-Caribbean because their ancestors were descendants of the Black people who were in those islands before they went independent. So, like I mentioned, this also includes the diaspora, and I think in some of these countries, they have larger diasporas, meaning there's more people of, let's just say, Jamaican descent, for example, that live outside of Jamaica instead of inside Jamaica. I don't know if that's actually true for Jamaica, but that's just the example that I'm using just so you can understand the point that I'm trying to reference here. And what's interesting about this is that the Caribbean encompasses so many different countries that all has their different cultures, but I think due to the diasporas and a lot of Caribbean people of these different nations living near one another in their diasporas, this kind of grouping is formed, especially when they all bring their cultures to these diasporas, and it's kind of like a melting pot of some sorts. There are other diaspora groups who are often in the diaspora wars, and the such that I want to include are Afro-Latinos. So these are people from the Hispanic Caribbean, Central America, and South America. They are Latinos who are Afro, or they identify as Afro-Latinos. I do have some issues with this term. I might do another video on that because initially I thought it was just for Black people who were Latino, like monoracial Black people who were Latino. But apparently that's not the case, and it's for people who have African descent. So this could include very mixed race Latinos, or even like one-droppy Latinos who want to identify as Afro-Latino. There's a whole bunch of issues there that I'm not going to get into right now. But for the most part, Afro-Latinos or Black Latinos, they are mainly in parts like coastal Colombia, obviously Haiti, but they don't consider Haitians Latino for several reasons, but they're not Hispanic, so let's just ignore them. The Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Cuba, Belize isn't Hispanic though, and apparently some places in Panama as well. But the thing is, a lot of these countries have heavily mixed mulatto populations instead of black populations. So a lot of the quote unquote Afro-Latinos are mulatto and not black Latinos. So it's just kind of weird there. But let's just
I'm gonna save you from this babble. Let's go into the flag. What does the green in the flag represent? All right, so let the BTP brothers lead this way. Be the power, Freedman. Check this out. This is what the green means originally in the R.B.G flag. This is what the green meant originally. Marcus Garvey later changed it to mean land, but it didn't mean land originally. Listen, family.
I'm just trying to find it for
No,
those
definitely.
who don't, Go ahead.
That's right. No, you're right. I think people need to know that, and emphasis needs to be placed upon that Garvey, like a lot of black immigrants who come over here from that time until now, look down upon black Americans. They kind of came with the pull yourself up by your bootstrap mentality as well, and that was not good for our people. And we're going to get into some of the other, like I said, immigrants that came over who were fully about our people. You was going to say something, Ali?
Yeah, and that bootstrap thing, if you think about it, it's kind of crazy, especially for colonized nations. People coming from colonized nations, third world countries, or as Donald Trump would have said, it's some shithole country, right? That still to this day is that, right? It's some third world country, some underdeveloped place coming here telling us what we need to do to pull ourselves up. Meanwhile, their countries are poverty stricken, crime ridden, and everything else, man. It's just kind of weird that people have the audacity to even do something like that.
Indeed. Well, let me ask y'all a question real quick before I pull this up. For years, we've heard about the R.B.G flag, the red, the black, and the green flag. During the protests of the brutal murders of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, among others, less publicized, highly publicized, I should say, lynchings, public lynchings by today's race soldiers and their proxies that wear police uniforms as well. I've seen numerous R.B.G flags. Juneteenth has been hijacked, right? The red, white, and blue that represents the Americanism of Juneteenth has been hijacked by Garvey's colors of red, black, and green, which shows how pervasive Garveyisms have become in the thoughts, as Ali has said earlier, and Grimm was speaking to as well. He's kind of embedded in the psyche. It's like when people say, we've been here for 400 years. It's just not true. We haven't been here. That's something Elijah Muhammad made up, copying a biblical passage about the Israelites being strangers in a foreign land for 400 years, especially at the time that he wrote that. Our people weren't here nowhere near 400 years at that point. So, we just follow a lot of that stuff. Honest KS for the contribution to the platform. So what have y'all heard that the red, black, and green flag represented?
There you go. Here it comes. The green.
Through the years.
Cool. Well, I heard that the red stood for the blood of the people. The black was representative of the people, the so-called black people, and that the green represented the land. Now, that part was never clear. I guess the land of Africa is what the green, I'm assuming, is supposed to have represented. I don't know, right? That I'm not sure of. But I know that, you know, what I've always heard was that the green represented the land. Assuming they were talking about Africa.
So we have this reference, and brother, we got this from brother Ty Harper as well, because he speaks on this a lot, and it's actually something that I've heard a while ago, but you know, some things you forget, right? Because you haven't heard it in so long. So let's pull this up. Let's share this. Let me blow this up some so people could see it. So it says, in little more than 2 years between Garvey's arrival in the United States on March 24th, 1916, and July 2nd, 1918, the UNIA had been incorporated by the state of New York. His perception of race relations in the United States was shaped by his formative Caribbean experience. While Garvey would enter a new quote-unquote political phase, as Hill puts it, after July 1921, during the period 1918 through 1921, Garvey's propaganda demonstrated an immense sympathy with the Black American left and the labor movement. In 1920, he claimed that the color red in the UNIA flag showed their sympathy with the Reds of the world. And the green, now let's peep this, family, peep this, and the green for the Irish in their fight for freedom.
Boom. Boom. So all this green for the land bullshit, that happened afterwards. People got in his ears like, yo, ain't a good look to big up the Irish. But originally, the green stood for this, family. This is what the green originally stood for. And the R.B.G flag. This guy right here. One more time.
So the flag in 20, he claimed that the color red in the UNIA flag showed their sympathy with the Reds of the world. And the green, now let's peep this, family, peep this, and the green for the Irish in their fight for freedom. So the red and the green in Garvey's red, black, and green flag represents the Reds of the world, not the blood of the Negro coursing through the veins of black bodies. The green doesn't, according to Garvey, represent the land of Africa, as many have proposed. So that was footnote 162, and it's highlighted where this particular source comes from. So let's blow that up as much as we can. Marcus Garvey to White, August 18th. So I'm guessing this was a letter. I'm guessing this is 1920. In Hill, this citation throws me at the moment. So I believe that might be chapter 2, maybe verse 19 on page 603, if I'm reading that correctly. So everybody else can go and pull the source up as well to show that Garvey's red, black, and green flag represents black people, it represents Irish folks, and it represents the Reds of the world, whom Garvey felt was being oppressed by the white man in the world. The idea of Garvey's flag came from this man right here, whose flag was yellow, black, and red. Yellow for the yellows of the world, yellow, brown, and black, excuse me. Brown for the brown people of the world, and black for the black people of the world. This man's name is Hubert Harrison. So I don't know if I want to go into Hubert Harrison just yet.
Well, let me show them.
Yeah, all right.
Let me show them real quick the piece that Grim was talking about so they could see it. I have it highlighted here. You see,
Yep.
The declared objects of the association are to establish a universal confraternity among the race, to promote the spirit of pride and love, to reclaim the fallen, to administer to and assist the needy, to assist in civilizing the backward tribes of Africa, to assist in the development of independent Negro nations and communities, etc. So just so you see that.
That's right. That to
that's
assist in civilizing the backwards tribes of Africa. You see,
That's your boy. But I wanted to just go back and show the Irish was in mind of Marcus Garvey when it came to the red, black, and green flag. It wasn't the land originally. It was about the Irish people's struggles. Okay, that's your boy. We need a Pan-Africanist to explain it.
How do you come together with people who are against you? If it's that easy, we would come together with white people. My hypothesis is that they're not against us. My hypothesis is that this is the process, this enmity that exists between Black Americans, Africans, and Caribbeans is the product of miscommunication. Point blank, period. We need to communicate. We need to actually be talking to each other. We need to actually be creating spaces where we're interacting with each other, having social interaction, instead of sitting. Instead, it's like being at the club, and there's another cat over there, and you're looking at him in the corner. He's looking at you in your corner.
Now look how he watered down the issues that FBAs are having with these coon cosplaying tethers. He said it's likened to people in the club looking at each other and just not liking each other. Like, this is their rationale. You best believe I asked him, hey man, you mind if you join the podcast? Let's talk about that rationale you're giving. Like, yo, they undermine our issues that we're having with these tethers. It's just they're downplaying it as two people in the club drunk looking at each other and just not liking what they see. So it's even. Like, there's nobody fault. It's just two ridiculous people illogically starting a beef.
And you're like, I can't stand that mother, man. And somebody says, why don't you like him? Because he think he look at me. You can see him grilling me, man. I don't like.
And in a few, I'm gonna bring it back to the Irish again. I need to hear it again.
That dude, and he's over there saying the same thing about you, and y'all both don't like each other because y'all think the other doesn't like y'all, but y'all don't actually stop, have conversations, communications with one another to determine, wait a minute. Oh, you mean that time when we passed and you didn't say anything? Like, you had just lost your job, so you wasn't even focused on, you didn't even hear me say what's up to you. You didn't snub me on purpose. Like, communication is the key. And if we're not having it, because if I'm sitting here in America, how do I know what the masses of Africans think about me? How do I know?
Well, it's not about the masses. It's about the ones that matter. The ones who are spreading propaganda, and the ones who are negative propaganda, and the ones who are undermining us to our face. It's not about the masses. It's about those who are here, who are standing in our way as though they represent team white supremacy. That's what matters, not what he's talking about. He's trying to flip it to something else.
How do I know what the African continent thinks about me as a Black American? How do I know? I'm sitting here in New York City. How do I know what somebody,
what they say in their homeland? As a matter of fact, let me help you. So if you want to act like, how do we know? Let me help you out. We know exactly how they feel about us. They tell us. Okay? How do we know? Sound like Whitney Houston. How do we know? I'll let you know how we know. They say it. We take them as their, as what they say. Not going to ignore what they say. Like, you can't ignore what we say. How do we know? Same tether who will avoid speaking to me. All right, so this is one right here. And this is the other one. And if I could squeeze in one more. I think that's good. Maybe this one.
Why I don't like when first generation Africans try to, like push away other black people, because
She don't like how generational Africans push away other black people. The other are FBA.
here in America, you in the same boat. You're in the same boat. You may have a village and all, but the outside world treats you exactly the same. Like exactly the same. They're not seeing you like, oh, you're African, let me coddle you. No. You're black. You talk that way, you definitely look that way.
You look that way, you talk that way, but you're not black. But as she said, she don't like the way first gen Africans push foundation Black Americans away. See, they say it. They say it. That's how we know.
Beef with Africans and Caribbeans? Do you feel like there's any type of beef there?
No, I feel like if anything, it's a little bit more love there. Like, because like my family, like we always say, like I'm a Ghanaian princess, like because I was from the Ashanti tribe. So like there's a lot more, I feel like, love given towards like us being from Africa. Like we love that. We don't, like there's a difference between like, okay, we do Jack being Jamaican, but like we also have that.
So she stated earlier how her mother feels about foundation Black Americans and that we're lazy, we're entitled, all that type of shit.
People, I don't. Black Americans people, I don't like them.
Now, she don't like us and she's in Rwanda. So he asked the question, how do we know how they feel about us? Well, they asked them in their homeland. Listen.
Black Americans people, I don't like them because they take lots of drugs.
We take a lot of drugs. What else?
They do fucking job. I don't like
We're sex workers. What else?
them.
They do what?
They fuck a lot. I don't like them.
And Rwandans don't fuck.
They don't like they don't like it. Yeah.
But I don't believe you.
That's my opinion.
So we're just making this stuff up, right? So he said, how do we know?
I would be like, they just so mean. Like, I can't have my American friends over.
She said her parents, when she was young, she felt like they were so mean that the parents would not allow her foundational Black Americans over the house. Listen.
Right? Like when I was younger, I would be like, they just so mean. Like, I can't have my American friends over. But it's not really being mean. It's just, I guess, protection.
Mm-hmm.
So her family is protecting her from us.
Protection of the unknown. So
protection, of the unknown. Like they just be so clueless. Oh my god! I just be wanting, bro. Just take a chance.
Take a chance with us, like we're powder drugs. Hey, you might like it. Take a chance. Take a chance. They're telling their parents to take a chance with FBA children. Take a chance with them. They're not as bad as you believe they are. But they'll tell you that this diaspora will go back and forth. They got to beg their parents to take a chance with an FBA kid.
They were raised like it just depends. Like it really does depend on the relationship.
Right. Like when I was young.
Makes no sense. So back to his question. How do we know?
How do I know what the African continent thinks about me as a Black American? How do I know? I'm sitting here in New York City. How do I know what most people what most Africans in Nigeria think about me? How do I know what most Africans in Ghana think about me? How do I know what most Africans in Somalia think about me? How do I know what most Africans in South Africa think about me? How do I know? I don't know. And if I'm just listening to somebody on Twitter telling me that everybody in South Africa hates me, if I'm just listening to somebody on Twitter.
Yeah, but we're not just listening. We hear it from the horse's mouth.
To tell me that Nigerians hate me and Somalians hate me. If I'm just listening to somebody on social media tell me that all these people hate me, then who's the fool? Because remember, we said they shouldn't just believe what the media tells them. Yes, neither should we.
So again, reducing it down to we just believe in media. Like we don't hear it. We're not in these conversations. They don't call in my show. They don't call in Jason Black show. They don't call in Tariq Nasheed show. We're just making this stuff up, and they don't have their own shows just talking about us all day long. So we're just making this up, and we're just listening to media. And some of them will say we're just bots. Like this is how they downplay it. And listen,
We shouldn't just be sitting here saying, "Oh yeah, I know they hate me." How? How do we know? If we're not actually communicating with them, if we're not actually dealing with them, if we're not actually building spaces for us to come together, how do we know that the majority of South Africans, Somalians, Ethiopians, Kenyans hate Black Americans? How do we know? I love how ignorant.
Who the hell said the majority of them? Nobody said that. Nobody said the word hate. When nobody said hate, we're stating a fact. They are over here undermining because they're coming with the elitist mentality, because a lot of them are highly selected. Like they're the educated class when they get over here. So they're taking that elitist attitude and they're thumbing their nose down on us like they do their own brethren back in their homelands.
Ignorances generalize the African diaspora. Listen, Tariq Nasheed, I remember seeing a bunch of his stuff prior. And here's the thing, I'm surprised about Tariq Nasheed's where he's at right now, because this is the man that did the Hidden Color series.
Family, please like the video. Yeah, he's serious. Please like the video, family. We are down 20-something likes. I don't know if he's FBA. He's coming off like he is, like he's in a sellout to Pan-Africanism. Okay. This video flopped terribly. In 3 years, it has 300 views. So it's really not, we're not valuing the hate. We should have never valued the hate, but we're definitely not, it ain't profitable to hate us for everybody. But yeah, he is serious. I think he is FBA. I'm just guessing the way he's talking and justifying Pan-Africanism and Africans disrespect. It comes off that he's FBA. He just sold out to the Pan-African agenda.
This is the man that made the 1802 about the hate.
That's another thing. They keep going to Hidden Colors. Like Hidden Colors was a Pan-African documentary set.
Haitian Revolution. Like if you made a documentary about the Haitian Revolution, you know, like as more than most, like how much they went to and how much similarity, how much shared struggle is there, how much shared history exists between Haitians and Black Americans.
Not a lot. Not a lot at all. Not a lot at all. They're not like us. We're totally different.
Like, you know. So to see him engaging, like it seems like he's and so I wonder if this is just the product of the reparations movement. And so that's why I think it's necessary for me to be speaking on this.
It definitely comes back to that. It definitely comes back to that, because up until that, you guys' hands were in our pockets. And when we talked about that, that's when we finally said, get your hands out of my pocket. So it definitely comes back down to that. So the reparations movement is what exposed them. It forced them to take the mask off, to do what Clayton Bigsby finally did in those Klan rallies and in Dave Chappelle's skit. They finally took the mask off during the reparations delineation whole movement.
Say that, listen, we can distinguish, and For those of you that don't know, that didn't hear my story, I told a story earlier about me being the youngest of four kids, and how my brothers and sister were out and they got hit by a taxi cab. And I was home because I was young. I couldn't go out with them. They were older kids, so they were out hanging out. They got hit by a car. And when the settlement came, it was divided amongst those three. I didn't get any. I'm still their brother, the sister. I'm still the brother, and there's still my sister, my brothers, but I'm not eligible for that money because I didn't suffer that injury, but they're still my family. And so that same thing applies to reparations, where even if Black Americans are eligible for these sets of reparations for this set of injuries, it doesn't mean we're not family with the rest of the diaspora. But a lot of people are treating that distinction, that legal distinction, as something more.
No, we are actually pointing out the obvious that we're not family. Your family is in your homeland. Our family is in our homeland. Now we can build alliances with each other. We can build alliances with anybody. We could build alliance with Latinos. We could build alliance with the Arab world. We can build alliances with Africans, Italians, whoever. But the family thing, that's just not true. Our family have the same lineage as us. Okay, that's just like a tiger and a lion. They're both felines. They're both cats, big cats. Are they technically family? No, because a lion would never be ever seen around tigers, ever. Cheetahs won't ever be amongst hyenas. Hyenas will never be amongst leopard. Leopard won't be amongst another cat, other big cat. And you can say they're family because they're all cats, but they're not. Cheetahs don't give birth to lions.
It's because there's a division that exists in terms of who's eligible for reparations for receiving this whatever this is from the government, that it somehow makes us separate and distinct and at odds with
No, not at odds, but definitely separate and distinct. Okay, so the whole point, see, the reparations claim had exposed that we're actually different, because we said earlier, the Supreme Court demanded that the redress be narrow and strict. So it forced us to look at it and say, hey, wait a minute. Why are your hands in my pocket? They got to be narrow and strict. That means lineage based. You're not of the lineage, so why are your hands in our pockets? Oh no, let's make it race based, and that's what happened. It had nothing to do with what he talked about. Okay, it had everything to do with reparations, but reparations exposed the leeching, the cosplaying, the sabotaging, undermining. So they just took the mask off and went full tether.
These other groups of Black people that didn't suffer this specific same injury at the hands of the United States government. We're still family, but it's a separate, it's a limited distinction, but there's a tendency to take that distinction and to broaden it to mean that, so we're at war now. No, it's just that
we were never at war. You guys declared war on us because we said, get your hands out of our pockets.
Only applies to the reparations fight. It doesn't make us separate. It doesn't make us less family, in broader terms.
Or more family.
Black Americans been taught to love white folks. Africans have no excuse. They were in the land and white people take it and they love. Deadpool, I would ask you to look at some of the more history, to take a deeper look into African history and what happened on the African continent, because it's funny. While civil rights is in full swing here, you've got similar fights happening in Africa. So in fact, you have Kwame Nkrumah from Ghana, and at that time it's the Gold Coast. From the Gold Coast, comes to America, and one of the people he studied was Garvey and everything, and then he goes back and fights for and helps Ghana gain its independence. Gold Coast gained independence, which then is renamed Ghana, And you realize that the Africans on the continent were dealing with these folk in very similar ways to the way we were. Not exactly the same, but very similar. So that like they was at war with these people. And once we see the shared struggle, we're like, okay, wow. Like we know we have every reason, those of us here, those of them over there, have every reason to realize that we have a shared struggle and a common threat to our survival. The goal of Tariq Nasheed and Yvette Carnell is to isolate Black Americans to the point where we have no allies and eventually crush when we make enemies out of everyone, including diaspora. Listen, if I take what they're doing at face value and go with it, like that's the only logical conclusion. Because if it's literally Black Americans against the world, we have no shot. Like we have no shot of survival. Like seriously, we have no shot of survival. If it's just Black Americans against the world.
It's not that. It's the world against us. All right. It's the world against FBA.
Because like the anti-Black hatred is global. And then if we're actively warring with other Black people just because. And so like where I see where I think I see where Tariq Nasheed may have come from with Yvette Carnell, I don't know exactly what motivates her, because she seems to have some, like you're saying, I do see some animus, and I don't know if it's exactly the same place.
I told you, family, listen, man, don't fall for the trick brag. When they say ADOS, hey, peace, Raymond, yo, why is Ramon, I could have sworn Tiaka and Rome. Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, it's family. What he's doing is proving what I said to you guys. When these folks say ADOS, they usually use it interchangeably with FBA. Don't feel excluded. You're included. And when people say FBA, they have a problem with FBAs, they also, by extension, include ADOS. Family, they use ADOS and FBA interchangeably. Okay. So when people say, like, even the Freedman, when they say, hey, ADOS, got a problem with them, he also got a problem with FBA. Okay. Family, I don't know too many people who have it, who's outside of ADOS and outside of FBA. I don't know too many people who don't claim either one who has a problem with one and not the other. I'm telling you, whoever has a problem with ADOS, they normally have a problem with FBA as well. Whoever have a problem with FBA normally have a problem with ADOS as well, family. They don't separate them. All right. And that's why he's bringing up Yvette right now.
From where Tariq Nasheed is coming from. And my whole thing is just theories about, I think that Tariq Nasheed's position now is because of the reparations struggle, whereas I don't know if Yvette Carnell doesn't have a more, because like I've seen her talk about like she has I think she just has like a problem with Pan-Africanism. I would have to listen to hear.
We all do, family. It's divisive.
Hear her more to fully understand what the core of her opposition to uniting with the diaspora is.
Thank you for checking out this clip of Escaping the Echo Chamber. If you would like to check out the entire live,
he literally said nothing. A lot of rambling. All right, check out this nut.
Documentary, Black Power to the Global African Diaspora.
Family, this nobody is literally trying to be Papa. Now, he's another guy. He's new. Channel, he just made it not too long ago. And right away, he got a matter of fact, right away, the channel is talking about FBAs are frauds. And I guarantee you, FBA, he also is talking about ADOS. When people have a problem with ADOS, it's normally extended to FBA. FBA extended to ADOS. They don't see, and we're no different. It's just a different name for the same lineage, but people usually tie us together, which they should. We're the same lineage. But this guy's first video is about FBA. Family, they just make these channels and their first video is about FBA or ADOS. Listen to this weirdo.
My name is Prince Michael, Global Peace Ambassador and Mount Kenya Ambassador to the African Diaspora. And I'm here to
It's a
formally
grand
announce
title.
a groundbreaking new documentary that's about to change the conversation forever. It's called Stop Diaspora Wars, Debunk.
So he's had a new documentary called Stop Diaspora Wars. Listen.
Change the conversation forever. It's called Stop Diaspora Wars, Debunking the FBA's war against Black unity.
So we have a war against Black unity. By the way, we're the only Black people. Okay, we're not warring amongst ourselves at all. We're not warring amongst the lineage. We're actually on code for the most part. But he's using Black interchangeably with African, which they do. They use African interchangeably with Black and vice versa, and they're not interchangeable at all. Just go ahead and ask Google.
This documentary is being produced to directly confront and dismantle one of the most harmful and divisive U.S. National Security Council Memorandum 46 compliant ideologies circulating in the global Black community today, the Foundational Black American Narrative, or FBA. We're going to expose the underlying fraud that it's based on, from glorification of falsified slave records from the white man's historical criminal enterprises to ignorance of basic population science called demography, to the erasure of Caribbean, South American, and African relationships to the very foundation of Black America, which will prove not only the existence of a shared heritage, but also a genealogical lineage claim to the inheritance of that foundation. The evidence will reveal conclusively that there's only one...
Wait, hold on, wait, I was doing something else. I missed that. Hold on. Let me get back to that. I missed it. Sorry, fam. I was reading comments.
And I'm here to formally announce a groundbreaking new documentary that's about to change the conversation forever. It's called Stop Diaspora Wars, Debunking the FBA's war against Black unity. This documentary is being produced to directly confront and dismantle one of the most harmful and divisive U.S. National Security Council Memorandum 46 compliant ideologies circulating in the global Black community today, the Foundational Black American Narrative, or FBA. We're going to expose the underlying fraud that it's based on, from glorification of falsified slave records from the white man's historical criminal enterprises to ignorance of basic population science called demography, to the erasure of Caribbean, South American, and African relationships to the very foundation of Black America, which will prove not only the existence of a shared heritage, but also a genealogical lineage claim to the inheritance of that foundation. The evidence will reveal conclusively that there's only one solution concerning this situation to the disenfranchisement of our people that honors the concept of truth and justice. And that solution is unwavering, uncompromising Black unity. Also forgiveness, acceptance, and a collective change of behaviors on all sides of the equation. And ultimately, political and economic integration as the supranational republic of the global African diaspora. This documentary is not just going to be a response on social media. It's going to be a professionally researched, documented, and produced total annihilation of the falsehood that's spreading rapidly through our community. And we're gearing up to begin producing it for global release on all major platforms to maximize the spreading of truth and give our community an opportunity for maximum peace and development. I'm proud to serve as the lead researcher and writer for this documentary. And for those of you who may not be familiar with my work, I'm the one who proved that dehumanization was a legal intellectual property owned.
So family, I tell you that most of what they got to say, most of their criticisms, most of their pushback against FBA's ADOS, Tariq Nasheed and Yvette Carnell, Tone Talks, Jason Black, is normally rooted from jealousy, hatred. He has a documentary. It's going to go wood. Nobody's going to buy it. He's going to be so upset that it's not comparable to anything Jason Black did or Tariq Nasheed. And they're going to just, it's the hate and jealousy and envy of individuals because they cannot compete. They cannot keep up. They cannot attract people. They don't know enough. They have not expressed they know enough for people to, buy into their BS. And it turns into, well, why'd you go buy Jason Black DVD documentary? Why'd you go buy Tariq Nasheed documentary? They're divisive. They're against Black unity. Oh, you guys are stupid. Bitty, 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 bitty. You guys are stupid. Bitty, bitty. You need to buy my documentary. It's called Stop Diaspora Wars, and we're exposing lineages like FBA and ADOS and Friedman, all the same thing, but acronym wise. This is why, family, this documentary is going to go 100% wood. People who are Pan-Africanists are not going to buy this. They don't support each other. They never did. That's why the Pan-African federations flopped during the 1960s. That's why the West Indian Federation flopped during the 1960s. They don't even support themselves. Okay. So this is a nothing burger, but let them go on.
By the United States government. I filed a $1.28 quadrillion reparations lawsuit on that basis that we're currently pushing to the Supreme Court. I successfully reclaimed a multi-$100 billion vibranium-related intellectual property.
Wait, now he didn't say vibranium. He's trolling, right?
Basis that we're currently pushing to the Supreme Court. I successfully reclaimed a multi-$100 billion vibranium-related intellectual property for the Kikuyu people of Mount Kenya. And now, through this film, I'm going to expose that the FBA narrative is largely based on fraud, ignorance, and taking irresponsible advantage of an internal family dispute that legitimately needs progressive solutions. Now, I won't go as far as to claim that this is an official...
Hold on. I believe I wrote them. Let me see it. I believe I wrote them. Yeah, I did. I'll be playing. Peace, brother. Can I invite you to my podcast to talk about diaspora wars? I think it'll be huge for the different communities. So, yeah, I immediately invite these guys. Like, wait, what you say?
U.S. government.
And, of course, he's going to decline like everybody else.
PSYOP, and that black folks in America are being paid to create this internal self-destruction. But I will say that this narrative is 100% compliant with the U.S. National Security Council Memorandum 46 to neutralize Pan-African and African-American unity. But this documentary, Stop Diaspora Wars, is just one part of a much bigger movement. This film is being produced by the African Diaspora Voters Education Board. The African Diaspora Voters Education Board is the team that built the world's first digital legislature technology specifically for the African diaspora. That means that we created an innovative system for our people to register, nominate leaders, and hold the first national election for the global African diaspora that's compliant with international standards and will be recognized by all major governments of the world. This is not a theory. This is a digital government framework that's ready to go, backed by the Internal Peace Treaty, which you need to review on the website stopdiasporawars.com, and true sovereignty of the people within the global African diaspora. And now we're calling on the community, not just to watch, but to be a part of this documentary. We're inviting influencers, celebrities, scholars, artists, educators, filmmakers, and community leaders from across the diaspora to lend your voice to this project, to appear in this documentary and speak on the record about the evidence presented, or attach your name to this project to help bring this truth to the world stage, and to help us get it produced at the level that it deserves. And for everyone else who simply want to support Black unity and believe that the African diaspora should be united instead of divided, pre-orders are now open at stopdiasporawars.com. Your support helps to fund the production, distribution, and global outreach of this documentary to get this truth out there. When you pre-order, what you get is 1, early access to a private screening, 2, behind-the-scenes production footage, 3, a full HD download once it's released, 4, you'll be listed as a supporter on our website, and 5, you'll be eligible to win free tickets to any of the promo events that's going to take place after the project is released. So we'll be random winners, or random people will be selected to get free tickets anytime we have those big promo events. This is our movement to shut down misinformation and to rise in unity. Stop Diaspora Wars is the first step. The next step is the global election that's going to take place for that global African diaspora. And the African Diaspora Voters Education Board is building the bridge between those two. Join us, pre-order, share this information, share this video, and if you have a voice or a major platform or a skill that's relevant to this production, now is the time to use it. This isn't just a documentary, it's a correction, a call to power. I'll see y'all on the other side. Visit stopdiasporawars.com, get your pre-orders in to support the production of this. Read the Internal Peace Treaty on the website and view the frequently asked questions to familiarize yourself with the details of this project and this movement, and understand that what we're bringing is the right solution, the actual solution to moving our people to the highest level of empowerment that we've ever had. And right now is not the time for us to start an internal war with our people, because where there's conflict, there can be no development. So if we want to develop and build ourselves to the next level, the first step is going to be peace. And that's what this project is being created to bring. Thank you for your time, brothers and sisters.
All right. So that's going to flop, and he's going to hate Tariq Nasheed 1,000 times more. We all know it's going to flop.
How come not one African general came over to our rescue? How come not one person in Africa came and started a war for us? Even after finding out what the hell we went through, nobody came. Even during the civil rights movement, nobody came from Africa.
Baby, you have to understand, we didn't have any of that. Africa at the time didn't have vast armies of well-trained men and women. This wasn't some Wakanda type where we had weapons, planes, and war rhinos and could just jump on a ship and go on some rescue mission. Nah, we weren't even masters of the sea at the time, so we would have probably gone the wrong way. Hey, geniuses, they went that way. Secondly, and I probably...
So now she said, where was the generals to come back looking for us? And this is his reason why. Listen, just listen to this. Flower galore. Matter of fact, let's do a lineage roll. Flowers galore. Peace to you, H. Miss Mickey Jones, Timothy Alicia Hill, M.D. Williams, Claire 64, First Class Citizen, Salik Bay, Fabrication Node, Unlimited, L.A. Hopkins, Continue the Diaspora War, Notre Dame. Peace to you. And if you're new here, let us know if you're of the lineage, whether you call yourself Freedman, ADOS, FBA. Let us know so we can embrace you properly, or if you're a supporter. Let us know if you're a supporter of the lineage. We can probably embrace you. Throw a lineage wrench at you, make your moderator. So Haru Heinous, I believe you are of the lineage, but that type of comment, let me add you as a mod. Logic says Umar 2.0. That type of comment lets me know that you're most likely of the lineage. Adi Head. So also intuitively wise, I see you got Kiel Hall. Also, I'm trying to find a way where we can where I could notify you guys outside of YouTube that we're live, because YouTube is definitely stopping the
She's green and healthy.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm gonna try to find a way where I can notify you guys outside of YouTube that we're live. YouTube is not doing a good job of notifying everybody when I'm live. I'm live twice a day. I try to be live at 9 a.m., but it's looking like 12 p.m. is the time, because when I go live, I like to be out. I don't like to be enclosed indoors at all. I get like, I'm an outsider. Like, I like to be out and about. But when I'm out, I'm at usually at a diner. I mean, socializing, people in and out. And it's not cheap to be in a diner every day live. So I'm usually here during the first early live, the grand rising. When I go late, I'm normally home. So if anybody can contribute Cash App wise to some of the diner expenses, The Cash App tag is right there. But yeah, so I'm trying to find a different way to notify you guys that I'm live. And if there's people throw out ideas, and trying to trying to get everybody on board. Because we shouldn't just have 100 people live. We should have 400, 500, 1,000, 2,000. I mean, I got 2,000 subscribers. Like, while we can't have 2,000 live lineage people in the chat, you dig, embracing and getting along, and who knows, networking. So somebody said phone. I said possibly Facebook Instant Messenger, but people say they don't use Facebook. What is the other? Oh, WhatsApp. WhatsApp. So people got WhatsApp. We can do that. And remember, it's just for notifications. So basically, I'm the person pretty much saying, hey, we're live. Here's the link. So I don't want people to abuse the chat as communications, because I hate to be part of those chats. It's annoying. Too many notification things banging on, sounding off. No. If we're gonna dialogue and network, it should be in the YouTube chats where it's not annoying. But I hate being tagged to these phone chats, these Facebook chats where people are trying to converse. It's annoying, and it kills my battery to whatever device I'm using. So we'll figure out something else. So we got a super chat in the building. Slick Bay 1999. Thank you, bro. Appreciate you, man. Definitely, he's definitely he's a serial super chatter. Appreciate you very much. So yes, we're trying to figure out a way where I can notify you guys outside of YouTube, because YouTube is not going to send you guys a notification on a mass level. They're gonna send one to Adi Head today, one to Logic TV Media tomorrow, and some people get it today, some people get it later tonight, and some of you won't. So unless you can be mindful. So outside of a massive email, massive group checks where I say I'm live, I'm just thinking maybe just in between 9 to 12 p.m. just check it out. Just see if I'm live. And 9:30 at night. Back to the lineage roll call. Bebe Rodriguez in the building. SJ, I see you out there. I see Miss D, 6 Women Sports. I see Polo Styles. I see who else? Still Tripping in the building. I see Cushite Revenge is definitely there. Who else is in the building? L.A. Hopkins, Claus Zandam. And that's all I can see for right now. Chat shut off. All right. So let's see. So Laura Moss says, I heard some content creators use Discord to let their subs know when they'll go live. All right. So you're the second person to mention Discord. So maybe we can do that. I'll look into that. I'm not the most educated on Discord, but I'll figure that out. I am 6 in the building. Donnie Williams in the building. All right. So I think I see Heru Haynes in the building. All right. Okay. So Miss Mickey joins. If I ain't say it earlier, I say it now. All right. So let's continue. So this is a Tether's response to the sister asking why ain't Africa sent generals to America to deliver us from our bondage.
Probably should have led with this, but Africans were enslaved too. It's not like white people just stopped by Africa, picked up some slaves.
Well, we know that didn't happen. We know that's what you want to say, that the Europeans came over and picked up slaves. No. Europeans came over and bought slaves from Africans. Okay. And Africans were not enslaved too. Okay. The only people who were enslaved were the people who were sold to enslavement.
Wait, hey, geniuses, they went that way. Secondly, and I probably should have led with this, but Africans were enslaved too. It's not like white people just stopped by Africa, picked up some slaves and left. No, they stayed and pretty much shared the continent amongst themselves. Okay, so I will take the ones in orange. Sure. Then you will take the ones in green. Does that sound good? Yeah, that sounds good. All right, great. There's a reason why it's called
So we're going to deny the trade. So family, so of course, did I hit him up? Did I write him? Yeah, I did. you can't see it, but I said this right there. I said, so why did you tell us then? Because of course, he's trying to downplay that into this. That's why they're so deceptive, and that's why I call them Pan-Decepticons. So we're gonna act like there's no trade. White folks just came, like they will tell you. Listen, family. Two things happen in Africa that we kind of lump up together. The Berlin Conference has nothing. The Berlin Conference has nothing to do with the slave trade, the transatlantic slave trade. These are two different events. Okay. Europeans didn't carve up Africa until 1892. Well, that was the plan until after that. When they came and bought us from Africans, they didn't carve up Africa. Africa was still intact. Okay, they still had some rule over there, some armies that was intact. They were not defeated. So, family, Europeans only dominated Africa for about 60 years. That's it. So we were being controlled and enslaved for 200 years or more. Family, the Berlin Conference was in 1892. Europeans went into Africa about like the 1900s, and they got out in about 1960. Most African countries got their independence in 60 years from when white folks went in there. So they were not over there for long, family. Just 60 years. That's it. And they left. So how are they that far behind for just 60 years when we been ruled and dominated for over 200 years? How are we able to rebound and be great, but these guys can't rebound at all just from 60 years? Let's talk about that in the chat.
Colonization. They went on a rampage and caused apartheid and all manner of genocides.
Yeah, that's later. That's 200. Sir, that was 200, 300 years later. Stop conflating.
And basically everything bad you can imagine. So as much as you were enslaved, so were we. Now you said nobody.
No, you were not. They came 200, 300 years later to get you. First of all, you sold us to the Europeans, and they used our free labor to create superpower armies. So yeah, they came back and effed you too, but you were colonized. For 60 years, you were not enslaved.
Nobody came during the civil rights movement, which is also wrong. Firstly, because again, we were still under bad you can imagine. So as much as you were enslaved, so were we. Now you said nobody came during the civil rights movement, which is also wrong. Firstly, because again, we were still under oppressive rule, so no great armies. Secondly, African leaders like Dr. Kwame Nkrumah went to join the fight during the civil rights era and was
Are you serious?
Inspired to come back to Ghana, assembled his own team and won, being the first.
Wait, what?
Because again, we were still under oppressive rule, so no great armies. Secondly, African leaders like Dr. Kwame Nkrumah went to join the fight during the civil rights era.
Yeah, joined the fight. He joined our fight. Where was his own fight? Where was his own fight? He got our swag like they normally do, cosplay us, and went back and did something for his own people. Right. So you benefited from making contact with us, but how we benefit from making contact with you?
And was inspired to come back to Ghana, assembled his own team and won, being the first to gain independence from colonial.
Right. You see? You got our swag and went back and did something. So, but you didn't. Yeah, he made it seem like Nkrumah was already in power and then came to America to defend us or back us. He just said it like the dude was a nobody until he made contact with us. We inspired him. He said himself he was inspired, and then he went to Ghana or Africa and created Ghana, whatever he did. That's after making contact with us, after being inspired by us.
In Africa,
Ghana, your beloved country, is free forever.
And Dr. Kwame Nkrumah passed laws that made it.
Notre Dame says Wakanda still chose not to help Black Americans. What the F?
it easy for African Americans to travel back home and make life for themselves here in Ghana. Now, to the African,
what? We can't go there without a bag. It took forever to establish some dual citizenship.
that have made it their personal responsibility to tell other black people that you are better than them. What the is wrong with you? Who died and made you chief executive nigga? Saying really stupid like black Americans don't have a good culture and they have abandoned their ancestors to pursue the white man's gods than cattle for 400 years. Even when they were declared free, it took 6 months for them to even find out. And even after that, they were denied common civil rights that they well deserved. Systems were designed by the former oppressors to keep them from making something of themselves. They had to find a way to survive. They had to create a new culture because the old one was erased. And this culture was built on the ruins of oppression and years.
We never had an old culture. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know another culture than the culture we got today. I mean, it evolved, but there was never a separate culture. Our culture started off small and evolved to something great that you see today.
Of strife. They made the best out of what they were given. So don't come on here if you are not educated on the struggles of our black American brothers. The diaspora wars are stupid. These oppression Olympics must stop. Realize this. We share a dark and terrible history. Africans, we are not better than any other set of black people.
Okay. Of course you're not. All right, here's your favorite tether.
Welcome back. My name is Okako.
Warning. He's going to gaslight you and piss you off. That's your favorite tether. He's another one. All of his content is about FBAs, and he's been rewarded. Like he's one of the lucky tethers where people actually watch his content and give him views. While he just talk shit about us all day long. There you go.
This is the African Vanguard. In this video, we're going to be talking about FBA Foundational Black Americans.
And by the way, he just started his channel. There's no way he should be doing views. Like he has a couple hundred subscribers, and this video made 3,000 views. Like, yo, listen, we gotta stop supporting these people, man. Stop trolling, stop commenting, ignore the video. Okay, he's gonna eat some slides.
Yeah.
So be very careful.
The car so full.
Let's watch. All right, so let me share their videos, right? Let's not give them indirect views because they'll take that as support or as it's working. They'll take it as it's working. They'll take it as, hey, let's keep up the hate. So let's avoid watching these videos, avoid giving them indirect views, and let them get 6, 7, 10 views every time they disrespect us. You dig? No, let's put no value in this hatred.
Versus the drama, the diaspora wars of versus African immigrants and continental Africans. So the issue is that historically, me, myself being a Nigerian American, as African immigrants, we come to the States, we have historically...
Okay, so he said it. He's a Nigerian American. All right, so keep that in mind. Tether.
Been very antagonistic, very insulting, often rude to Black Americans. And oftentimes as well, we distance ourselves from Black Americans.
All right, so let me clip that.
Is just from straight.
Let me clip that.
As well, we been very antagonistic, American. Myself being a Nigerian American. Me, myself being a Nigerian American, as African immigrants, we come to the States. We have historically been very antagonistic, very insulting, often rude to Black Americans. And oftentimes as well, we distance ourselves from Black Americans. And a part of that is just from straight up ignorance. A part of Afro.
We're not gonna do the ignorant thing.
You know,
okay,
me myself being a Nigerian.
We're not gonna say.
Afro.
I know, we're not gonna say.
Ignorance.
No. I know we don't want that.
Me myself being a Nigerian American.
We're not gonna dump it off on ignorance.
African immigrants, we come to the States. We distance ourselves from Black Americans. And a part of that is just from straight up me, myself being a Nigerian American.
Okay, there we
And a
go.
part of that is just from straight
So
up.
we got flowers galore, super chat in the building, $10 towards Ron Jr.'s lunch. You hear me in the background? Yeah, thank you very much.
Ignorance. A part of Afro.
So you see how they do? So they want to dump off their diaspora war as just ignorance. It isn't blatant, it isn't intentional, it's pure hearted. They just don't know any better. They just need better education. How do you come into another person's homeland? This is the question they refuse to address. How do you come to another person's homeland and behave like that? Everything he just said. I would never visit Japan and then try to seek permanent residence in Japan and look at the Japanese natives as anything less than what they are. Like, how dare you do that? Like, who can do that? That is a colonizer's approach. All right. That's a colonizer's approach. It's like these guys are, you know what they are? Family, these guys are failed colonizers. These tetherers. They always wanted to be one, they just couldn't. They was outdone by Europe to failed colonizer. And then they want to always dump it off as, oh, we just ignorant. It's never intentional. It's never, they come in with the rah-rah. It's always, oh, no, we didn't know. But when they speak on our behalf, it's always intentional. We're attacking them, African booty scratcher. Come
on. Was from, I don't know if maybe my parents, because the story with me is I am a Nigerian American. We immigrated to the States when I was 10 years old. So my parents were the ones who obviously brought me to the States. I was around 10 or so. And functionally in the United States, I view myself as American Black. But at the same time, of course, I have the identity and still speak the language Igbo from Nigeria. So growing up, I'm not sure if maybe when my parents were going through the immigration process, they were pre-educated somehow by saying, hey, when you come to the States, watch out for Black Americans. And so much so,
okay. I need that. I
remember myself growing up. When you come to the States, watch out.
I need that.
Growing up, I'm not sure if. So growing up, I'm not sure if maybe when my parents were going through the immigration process, they were pre-educated somehow by saying, hey, when you come to the States, watch out for Black Americans. And so much so, I vividly remember myself growing up. My mother would have conversations with me and say, hey, make sure you're not in gangs, watch out for Black people, because, sometimes they don't do the right things, whether it's, how I dress, making sure.
So family, so you don't think that type of programming, you don't think that we sense that where we're in school with these African booty scratchers, you don't think that we say, hey, what's up with you? And then we have little funny names for them to, you know what? Family, you can look at African booty scratcher was the first terminology before tether. African booty scratcher was the first tether. Like, we as kids, we knew they were off. We knew they were cosplaying. We knew that they had this genuine disrespect for us. So as a result, we called them African booty scratchers. We were delineating as kids, family.
It's toxic. So growing up, I'm not sure if maybe when my parents were going through the immigration process, they were pre-educated.
Okay, so now he want to blame it on the immigration process. Again, just more excuses to dump away their hatred towards us. Okay, now it's the immigration, the office that was educating them and programming them to hate us. Like, stop it.
Somehow by saying, hey, when you come to the States, watch out for Black Americans. And so much so, I vividly remember myself growing up. My mother would have conversations with me and say, hey, make sure you're not in gangs, watch out for Black people, because, sometimes they don't do the right things, whether it's, how I dress, making sure not to sag my pants, because that is associated with gangster lifestyle. And I typically don't dress like that. And not that
gangster lifestyle, family, damn it, 90% of youth is out there sagging pants. So you're trying to tell me 90% of financial Black American youth, men, boy youth, are in gangs. Like, yo, the gang membership is so low compared to the population of the youth in a given city, in a given neighborhood. Like, stop it. If there's 2,000 young black boys, maybe just 100 or 200, if that, are in gangs. There's so many young black boys who are not in gangs. It's not even the ratio is not even close.
If anybody does dress it, I mean, who am I to tell someone else how to dress? It's not how I would personally dress because, functionally, practically, it doesn't make any sense to me, especially if you need to run. But that's neither here nor there. So there is always that fear and always that reinforcing education from the part of my parents to say, hey, don't overly identify too much with African Americans. And that is toxic. So growing up, I'm not sure if maybe when my parents were going through the immigration process, they were pre-educatedly remember myself growing up. My mother.
All right, so family, he just admitted that his mother was programming him to stay away from the Akata. I mean, no family. This is before he interacted with us. So they can't have it both ways. They can't say, hey, those Foundation Black Americans, they called us booty scratchers, so we were perpetually traumatized from that point on. And that's why we have disdain for Foundation Black Americans. But then say this right here, but then say they were pre-programmed to feel a certain way about us, right? To stereotype us, to stay away from us. Both can't be true. It's either you threw the first rock or we did. So based on this testimony that's more consistent with their testimonies, they threw the first rock with this pre-programming from their parents. And our young children called them African booty scratcher. African booty scratchers was the first tether, right? It was before tether, it predated tether. We're saying as adults tether, but our in beautiful, educated, intellectual youth called them booty scratchers to differentiate them from us. Like, yo, why you behaving like that? Why you looking at me like I'm a thug? Why you looking at me like I'm a troublemaker? Why you looking at me like I'm less than you? So be like, yeah, man, well, take that African booty scratcher stuff somewhere else, bro. Like, we ain't vibing with you. So family, let's own it. Let's proudly own African booty scratcher as the first delineation term before tether. Yes, we called you that because you were behaving like that. You had these stereotypes against us. You were programmed by your parents to stay away from us, to treat us differently. So yes, the youth called you African booty scratcher to tag you, to, you know what I mean? Tag you. Throw in the garbage. To tag you, to point out, don't be around those folks. You did.
Would have conversations
JJ
with me and
Mars.
say, hey, make sure you're not in gangs. Watch out for black
Chantel,
people because sometimes they don't do the right things. Whether it's how I dress, making sure not to sag my pants because that is associated with gangster lifestyle, and I typically don't dress like that. And not that if anybody does dress it, I mean, who am I to tell someone else how to dress? It's not how I would personally dress because, functionally, practically, it doesn't make any sense to me, especially if you need to run. But that's neither here nor there. So there is always that fear and always that reinforcing education from the part of my parents to say, hey, don't overly identify too much with African Americans. And that is toxic. Thankfully, and myself, like we primarily lived in whiter areas, and that's again part of the diaspora wars of saying, well, immigrants, they come here, we help them bring, and ultimately they disassociate and they distance themselves from Black Americans, further, encouraging economic stagnation of Black Americans, and that's all true, and I fully own onto it, and I personally, genuinely apologize. That is disgusting, and the education, that process is appalling, okay? And I think if we had social media back then, we would have had this discussion open in the air in large broadcasts so all of us know that this is an issue and we can, disseminate the, have the conflict, have the disagreement and come to a consensus, a path forward. So that's sort of the background of where the FBA, Foundation of Black American Identity, is coming from versus that separation and distancing and hating of African immigrants, because historically they have done some wrong.
But we don't hate them. So why do they speak for us but never want to speak to us? Why not just hear us say what we stand on? Like, why keep speaking for us? And in fact, look, stay out of FBA business. Hold on. All right, so I'm gonna try to reach out again.
Especially when Black America are the moral compass of this entire nation, are the culture, the entire fighting legal backbone, the moral standing of America. When America, all that's, anyone can survive, anyone can become whatever they want to do. That's all Black Americans building the country, establishing the moral authority and soft power of America. And so fully, I completely respect that. And I love that about Americans. And so when I talk about, let's have the discussion about foundational Black Americans versus that of immigrants, Africans, is the issue I want to bring up. And that issue is, while foundational Black Americans, as established by, I think it's Tahid Nassid, is his name, who came up with it. If you hear him speak, and I had a video of him that I watched. It was like an hour-long video. And again, my previous channel was deleted accidentally by myself when I was trying to do some cleanup.
Sure it was.
But in that video, I watched his entire explanation of what FBA stands for. And if you listen very carefully, his talking points is very much a mirror of what white supremacists believe.
Okay, yeah, I would love, which he could never do. If I know he's not going to invite my invitation, but if he does accept my invitation, I would love to give us the talking points that Tariq Nasheed normally says that mirrors white supremacy talking points. Because, sir, your mother, what she told you, that mirrors white supremacy. So your mother, from your own mouth, your mother comments mirrors white supremacy more than any FBA can ever mirror, or even Tariq Nasheed. So we would love for you to source up. I'm gonna use your mother as a case in point that your mother aligns with white supremacy. I would love for you to quote Tariq Nasheed talking points that aligns with white supremacy. I bet he can't do it.
It's very anti-immigrant. It's very isolationist. And not even isolationist to the point of achieving something larger. It just says, hey, if you are a Black person who traces their identity back to slavery initially, you need to disassociate yourself from the rest of any African immigrants. And when you do that, that's it. That's just the end. Whenever you see a immigrant Black person, you just distance yourself from them and just move on with your rest of your life and do something else. There is no plan about economic empowerment, strategy. There's no saying, okay, while we're disassociating from Africa, here is the plan of who we are actually going to align with. There's just nothing. Because mind you, you can't associate with, I mean, you obviously can't associate with white people. I am not a racist at all, obviously. But just there's that reality that white America still hates you in large respect, right? Like there's still racism that exists that we all experience every day. And police officers are not going to pull you over and say, hey, before I can proceed with my discrimination, please identify, are you a Nigerian, African?
Family, they all can't use this analogy. I mean, family, come on now. They all use this analogy. What is the probability of that? This is scripted, just like the booty scratcher is scripted. But, sir, the officer don't need to. Because remember, I did the video showing how you guys historically signal to white supremacists that you're not one of us by your accent, by your Jamaican flag in your car, your Nigerian flag, your Barbados flag, Bajan flag. Family, listen, when they get pulled over, the police officer already knows that he's not FBA by the signal symbolic flag that's in the windshield. So you don't have to ask you. Your flag in the windshield already lets them know you're non-FBA. But continue.
Are you a Ghanaian African, Libyan, South African? Like they're not going to like make that distinction. They're just going to see the color and like proceed. Even when you like start speaking and you have an accent. Oh, and by the way, tell me, do I have an accent? Because I am African, a Nigerian after all. Again, I have been extremely Americanized, but needless to say, like police is not going to properly identify and check which one are you, so I can then know it's the same. Okay, so separating the FBA separation is divisive, and it's not divisive to the point of yielding some tangible result. There's no plan whatsoever. It's just saying, hey, all black people in America, please isolate yourself. And that isolation, by design, will only weaken you, will only stagnate you that much more, because you can only circulate the dollar so much within that group when new dollars are not necessarily generated within that same group. So you still need an external partnership to generate new dollars. So you can only circulate so much until, and especially too, as you're circulating within that economy of just black Americas, okay, you're still being.
Family, how does he lead with his mom brainwashed him as a younger child, a kid, to stay away from us? And then we're going to take him serious after that. Like, dude, you're done.
Tax. So that circling will get smaller and smaller to zero ultimately. You have to generate, you have to partner with some external force, some external, whether it's China, whether it's, ideally Africa, where there's an import-export, but then.
See, why I gotta be you guys? Why can't it be just, we don't got, now he's saying we can't circulate our dollars amongst ourselves. We did that. It's been proven. We got a proof of concept. There's something called Black Wall Street, plural. Okay, so our dollars circulate amongst ourselves has proven to be beneficial and to accumulate wealth. Like we became wealthy cities. So no, sir. I mean, of course, like the goal is to expand at some point, and spread our money other ways. Internationally possibly, but to fixate our money on Africa is just stupid. It's just non-beneficial. But if some folks want to do that, go do it. But right now, we're focused on us right now. And we're cutting Africa out. And speaking of cutting, Africa can cut that check along with white supremacy.
The United States Black Americans and that of African, continental Africa, that it generates new trading relationship and new value items being created. So the point I'm trying to say is FBA is only a separatist sort of isolationist, segregation, and xenophobic thought process, ultimately, without achieving any real goals or even stating what the plan is to.
But the plan is to stay away from you. And the plan is to keep you away from us. And we're succeeding with that. Okay?
Help improve the lives of Black Americans. I have not heard it yet. And if you are FBA, tell me, what is the actual end goal? What is the actual plan?
Well, the plan is to leave you guys alone. But all you got to do is accept my invitation. You can ask that question live, and I could give you some end. Well, there's no end goal. The end goal is to be great. That's the end goal for us, is to be great, be a great lineage, keep on being great, keep on evolving and being greater. That's the end goal, is to keep multiplying, evolving, and becoming greater. But we would love to know your end goal. Your end goal. You left Nigeria. You're in America. What is your end goal?
To help make Black America that much greater. Black America is already doing well.
We could be doing great and greater, but what is your end goal, and what is your end goal in relations to Nigeria? You want to know our end goals to our homeland. What is your end goal in relations to Nigeria? How are you going to make Nigeria greater by being over here?
Without FBA, Black Americans are constantly exporting the culture by establishing trends, by establishing what is to be valued.
I sense he's about to offer legal advice. I sense it.
All the time, the soft power of America is Black America. All across the world, everybody thinks of all the things associated with, ultimately can be traced back to immediately or indirectly to Black Americans. That is the value. So Black America is already thriving without FBA. So with FBA, what is FBA actually adding to the outcome? So my contention is that FBA is not really helping anyone achieve any real tangible goals. It just further divides and weakens at a time when there are real threats, real issues.
Yeah, like you guys. And it further divides and weakens what? Because the lineage is that much stronger. Our relationships within the lineage is that much stronger. So it weakens what? And family, let's get the likes. The likes been under 100 way too long. I haven't been saying nothing because the vibe has been great. But family, let's make a concerted effort to get the likes, somewhere near the live watching audience. It's too crazy. It's been below 100 the entire live. We've been live for 2 hours. We've been like at 100 deep for like at least an hour. All right, thank you.
Coming down the pipe, already here. So that's my take on all this. And again, I genuinely apologize for how my parents, brought me up.
No. You can't apologize for that. Matter of fact, let me clip that.
For how all this. And again, I genuinely apologize.
You can't apologize for your parents, buddy.
So that's my take on all this. Again, and all this. So that's my take on all this. And again, I genuinely apologize for how my parents, brought me up to sort of distance. Not sort of, to just flat out distance. And I don't think it came from a point of like, hey, they're Black, so don't intermingle. It was a point of concern for them. So
oh my God,
that's my
the
take
concern.
on all this.
What is the concern?
And again,
hold on.
I genuinely apologize for how my parents.
Then they.
So that's my take.
Then they justify. So one. So now he's apologized for his parent, but then justify the Fness.
So that's my take on all this. And again, I genuinely apologize for how my parents, brought me up to sort of distance. Not sort of, to just flat out distance. And I don't think it came from a point of like, hey, they're Black, so don't intermingle. It was a point of concern for them. To say, hey, baggy pants are bad, this criminal behavior happening. And to some degree, Okay, she's right. I mean, there are some behaviors that are not appropriate.
So white society behavior is appropriate. Like this is a stupid tether babble to justify. Dude, come on. Like you're not apologizing for your parents. You are doing what they call it, control damage for what your parents said.
We don't need to be treating women as, sex objects.
I know he's not talking. Family, there's legal sex trafficking. He comes from a country where they have kid trafficking and sex trafficking. He comes from a whole country that has no issue with that.
So that's my take on all this. And again, I genuinely apologize for how my parents, brought me up to sort of distance, not sort of, to just flat out distance. And I don't think again, I genuinely apologize.
So his apology was an extension of his parents' disrespect. It's crazy.
For how my parents, brought me up to sort of distance, not sort of, to just flat out distance. And I don't think it came from a point of like, hey, they're black, so don't intermingle. It was a point of concern for them to say, hey, baggy pants are bad, this criminal behavior happening. And to some degree, okay, she's right. I mean, there are some behaviors that are not appropriate. We don't need to be treating women as, sex objects. Calling people bitches is not necessarily appropriate. Now, depending on how the term is used, of course, it can be.
Yeah, what does that got to do
Let's
with
just
anything?
say, it could be either endearing or not, but there are some aspects that are toxic. But that's also available in Africa as well.
Yeah, but what about available amongst white people, the people who you worship? That's available amongst white people. Like, what are you talking about? Like, nobody's more rude than white people. Look at Jim Crow. Look at what he said they did to his country. So why would you, family? Again, this is tether babble. That makes no sense to say stay away from Foundation Black Americans because of our behavior, but then don't say stay away from white people who literally shoot us down, have lynched us, denied us some loans and equal access to other program services. The people who dominated the world and are responsible for colonizing his country, that race, his mom don't say stay away from those people. The people who promote all type of degenerate behaviors, and the reason why FBA has any flaws, those people, his mom have no smoke, no concerns. Hey, befriend them all day long. But the FBAs, the people who are oppressed by that class of people, that race of people, white Americans, you could be around them. But the FBAs, those are your biggest threat. Stay away from them. Man, family, that's why I say I'm good with Africans. I don't plan on having any relationships with them ever. Okay. Now, does that mean that I can't do business with an African? Does that mean I can't go to an African store? No. I'm talking about as a collective. Like I'm good with trying to do anything collectively with Africans. Like pass me up. An individual, I'm not saying individual relationships. Like you can be friend of Africans, no big deal. You might have an African boss, you might have an African coworker, African doctor. I'm not saying treat them like trash. I'm just saying for me, collectively, trying to do something with Africa, I'm good. Skip me, pass me, don't invite me, leave me alone.
And in other parts of the world. So again, I deeply apologize for how my parents brought me up. I don't hold that point of view. And I think if we had social media, a lot of that would not have happened because we would have nipped that in the butt. But in today's day and age, it's very odd that is an issue that we're immediately focusing on, that discussion just kind of sprung out to further divide us when we need to be uniting and making a very concrete plan. And my proposition for a concrete plan is that, just go with me. My concrete plan for Africa moving forward is for us to have unity and economic empowerment.
Oh,
Because
we're
economic empowerment
but we're never
translates
going to have
very
that with you
directly
guys.
to political power. And political power is the only thing that actually matters. And how we achieve that is very easy. African diasporans and
Exactly.
Black
Fresh
America,
always.
you have a lot
Tandria
of
Williams said,
economic power already available to you.
I'm done talking about him. His parents are Black Feather Archery. Tandria Williams said, we don't owe these people a thing, right? Ron, I see 109 from here. The lights got up. Cool, thank you. No unity, go back on right. Yo, if this unity talk, kill that. Kill that. We're not unifying with no Africans. No, like I'm talking about plural. No Africans. No, 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 no. You guys owe too much. Your history is too bloody, it's too deceptive. You guys are pan-Decepticons. No, 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 no. You got to first, there's a lot of reparative justice. And for one, your countries owe us some land, some resources for the slave trade, the transatlantic slave trade, for your role, your 50-50 role with Europe in the transatlantic slave trade. Okay. Pan-African slave trade. That's all I know you guys of. Not Pan-Africanism, Pan-African slave trade. Yeah, so that, and then you guys got this thumb nose down thing when you see us, like no apologies at all. And you're like, it's no love lost. Like when they come to this country, family, they sold us, right? And they stole us and then they sold us. And family, when they come here, as you can see, there's a no love lost attitude with these guys. They sold us. They stole us, sold us, and then they trained themselves to think about us as degenerates, criminals. Wait a minute. You sold us, you stole us, and you're coming to our homeland with the no love lost attitude. Like, hey, we'll steal you again and we'll sell you again. And they're trying to do it right now. They're trying to sell us Pan-Africanism as a way to get us back over there to rebuild Africa. Like all they want to do, family, I'm gonna keep it a buck. All they want to do is get us back in their homeland so they can enslave us and have us build up their homelands. Free labor, cheap labor, same thing. They looking like, damn, we sold these folks and they could have built up Ghana for us or whatever country was around at that time. That's what they look at it as like, oh, those white folks got that all. They use them to build the country up, to make them a superpower. We should have done that. Well, shit, it ain't too late. Let's get them over here. They're free. They can have a passport. They can have dual citizenship now with the bag. Let's get them over here and build up Africa, re-enslave them. They got the blueprint. Like they look at us as the blueprint. Shit, they already know how to do it. They're gonna be plug and play. Get them over here, strip them of the names, culture, and it's plug and play. They're gonna know exactly what to do. That's how they look at it. They look at it as plug and play, and they'll know exactly what to do. They're gonna resume their position. All right, so let's get back on this flag one more time. Let's explain the green in the flag. Let's explain. Everybody refresh your browsers, and you'll see the title. The title I changed it a few times. I wanted the title to mirror the content, and the title is Marcus Garvey's R.B.G. flag was the green for the Irish. So let's see. For those who just coming in, let's look at the reason for the green and the R.B.G. flag. This is the original reason. Marcus Garvey came back and changed it later to green is for the land. But initially, this is what the green stood for.
look down.
And I ate. I'm just trying to find it for for
No,
those
definitely.
who don't. Go ahead.
That's right. No, you're right. I think people need to know that emphasis needs to be placed upon that Garvey, like a lot of black immigrants, come over here from that time until now, look down upon black Americans,
And before I get started with this, family, show the Cash App some love. It could be $1, just, you know what I mean? Because from here, we're going to go to the park. And unfortunately, I'm not going to have time because the whole day I'm out. Like, I'm out. So from here, after this video, I say about 20 minutes more, we're going to head to the park and finish our day at the park. And from there, I'm probably not going to cook. So I'm probably just going to grab them something, like sub or something. Something quick. So any dollar can add, can decrease that expense. You did, because I'm really sacrificing. Y'all can hear it in the background. I'm really sacrificing for the lineage. So I'm doing the most because you guys are supporting the most. So I feel like it's worth it. Cash out.
It's they kind of came with the pull yourself up by your bootstrap mentality as well, and that was not good for our people. And we're gonna get into some of the other, like I said, immigrants that came over who were fully about our people. You was gonna say something, Ali?
Yeah, and that bootstrap thing, if you think about it, it's kind of crazy, especially for colonized nations, people coming from colonized nations, third world countries, or as Donald Trump would have said, it's some shithole country, right? That still to this day is that, right? It's some third world country, some underdeveloped place coming here telling us what we need to do to pull ourselves up. Meanwhile, their countries are poverty-stricken, crime-ridden, and everything else, man. It's just kind of weird that people have the audacity to even do something like that.
Indeed. Oh, let me ask y'all a question real quick before I pull this up. For years, we've heard about the R.B.G. flag, the red, the black, and the green flag. During the protests of the brutal murders of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, among others, less publicized, highly publicized, I should say, lynchings, public lynchings by today's race soldiers and their proxies that wear police uniforms as well. I've seen numerous R.B.G. flags. Juneteenth has been hijacked, right? The red, white, and blue that represents the Americanism of Juneteenth has been hijacked by Garvey's colors of red, black, and green, which shows how pervasive Garveyisms have become in the thoughts, as Ali has said earlier, and Grimm was speaking to as well. He's kind of embedded in the psyche. It's like when people say, we've been here for 400 years. It's just not true. We haven't been here. That's something Elijah Muhammad made up, copying a biblical passage about the Israelites being strangers in a foreign land for 400 years, especially at the time that he wrote that. Our people weren't here nowhere near 400 years at that point. So, we just follow a lot of that stuff. Honest KS for the contribution to the platform. So what have y'all heard that the red, black, and green flag represented through the years?
Cool. Well, I heard that the red stood for the blood of the people. The black was representative of the people, the so-called black people, and that the green represented the land. Now, that part was never clear. I guess the land of Africa is what the green, I'm assuming, is supposed to have represented. I don't know, right? That I'm not sure of. but I know that, you know, what I've always heard was that the green represented the land. Assuming they were talking about Africa.
Mm-hmm. So we have this reference, and brother, we got this from brother Ty Harper as well, because he speaks on this a lot, and it's actually something that I've heard a while ago. But you know, some things you forget, right? Because you haven't heard it in so long. So let's pull this up. Let's share this. Let me blow this up some so people could see it. So it says, in little more than 2 years between Garvey's arrival in the United States on March 24th, 1916, and July 2nd, 1918, the UNIA had been incorporated by the state of New York. His perception of race relations in the United States was shaped by his formative Caribbean experience. While Garvey would enter a new quote-unquote political phase, as Hill puts it, after July 1921, during the period 1918 through 1921, Garvey's propaganda demonstrated an immense sympathy with the Black American left and the labor movement. In 1920, he claimed that the color red in the UNIA flag showed their sympathy with the reds of the world. And the green, now let's peep this, family, peep this, and the green for the Irish in their fight for freedom. So the red and the green in Garvey's red, black, and green flag represents the reds of the world, not the blood of the Negro coursing through the veins of black bodies. The green doesn't, according to Garvey, represent the land of Africa, as many have proposed. So that was footnote 162, and it's highlighted where this particular source comes from. So let's blow that up as much as we can. Marcus Garvey to White, August 18th. So I'm guessing this was a letter. I'm guessing this is 1920. In Hill, this citation throws me at the moment. So I believe that might be chapter 2, maybe verse 19 on page 603, if I'm reading that correctly. So everybody else can go and pull the source up as well to show that Garvey's red, black, and green flag represents black people, it represents Irish folks, and it represents the reds of the world, whom Garvey felt was being oppressed by the white man in the world. The idea of Garvey's flag came from this man, right?
My man had so much in common. Garvey, this pro-black, pro-African guy, has so much in common with the Irish struggle.
Here, it's up as nation August 18th. So I'm guessing as the veins of black bodies. The green doesn't, according to Garvey, represent the land of Africa, as many have proposed. So that was footnote 162, and it's highlighted where this particular source comes from. So let's blow that up as much as we can. Marcus Garvey to White, August 18th. So I'm guessing this was a letter. I'm guessing this is 1920. In Hill, this citation throws me at the moment. So I believe that might be chapter 2, maybe verse 19 on page 603, if I'm reading that correctly. So everybody else can go and pull the source up as well to show that Garvey's red, black, and green flag represents black people, it represents Irish folks, and it represents the reds of the world, whom Garvey felt was being oppressed by the white man in the world. The idea of Garvey's flag came from this man right here, whose flag was yellow, black, and red. Yellow for the yellows of the world, yellow, brown, and black, excuse me. Brown for the brown people of the world, and black for the black people of the world. This man's name is Hubert Harrison. So I don't know if I want to go into Hubert Harrison just yet.
Well, let me show them.
Yeah, all right.
Let me show them real quick the piece that Grim was talking about so they could see it. I have it highlighted here. You see, the declared objects of the association are to establish a universal confraternity among the race, to promote the spirit of pride and love, to reclaim the fallen, to administer to and assist the needy, to assist in civilizing the backward tribes of Africa, to assist in the development of independent Negro nations and communities, etc. So just so you see that.
That's right. That to
that's
assist in civilizing the backwards tribes of Africa. You see, you can't, in my opinion, you cannot have the love for your people. I heard this old story about Garvey as well. I haven't been able to confirm it, where Garvey says something to the effect of he wouldn't give a bum or a homeless person money on the streets because he feel that they should be able to rise above their conditions and do for themselves. I can't.
All right, so let me fast forward just a bit. Oh, I almost missed a super chat. We got a Ken Starlation in the building, $10 super chat. Thank you very much. Family, plenty of love in the building. Thank you very much. Yeah, so I presented this last night. So this is it's good research. Research ain't always I got a video where I talk about inventions versus innovations. So sometimes the research comes from you, like you're the primary source, and that's a great thing. But sometimes you gather research, you find it that's like was pretty much buried. It was published, but nobody really heard it or knew about it. So this right here, this finding from the Freedmen, from the Be the Power, this video really didn't do a lot of views, and it was buried. Nobody really seen this information. So I uncovered this information, and I think they did this video like some years ago. So I uncovered this information and I brought light to it. I told you who it's from, the YouTube channel, and that's also called research, finding research that's like buried, that didn't really give. So that be that. Yeah. So hold on. Anything else we had? Well, let me just play a little bit more of this.
Let me just go back through this one time.
You ready?
Let me just go back through this. This is the affirmative action discussion, and it's all about lineage. Okay. It's all about, like, when they talk about, nobody's talking about race. They dispatch with diversity, right? This is what we're talking about. So hold on, let me find this one. It's the wrong size, child. Okay. In fact, when objections were made in Congress that this is racial-based law, the people who supported the Freedmen's Bureau denied the charge. They didn't say yes, but so what? They said no, it is not. It is not race-based at all, Justice Kavanaugh. So today's benefit to descendants of slaves would not be race-based, correct? I think that's incorrect, Justice Kavanaugh. Justice Kavanaugh, well, how does that? You just said a benefit to former slaves was not race-based in the Freedmen's Bureau. How is that different? Well, the remedial exception that this court has recognized is fairly narrow. It has prior. The question is whether it's race-based. Right, okay. Let me say, what they're telling you is that we're not talking about, what they're telling you is that there's already precedent. What they're telling you is that there's already precedent for the idea that a lineage-based reparations framework is not race-based, that it is harm-based. Right? It's not based on people just having melanin or people just having African descent. It's based on a specific kind of harm. Right? So let me go here for a second, because it was mentioned in another tweet. So this is a case. This is Wygant versus Jackson Board of Education. It was decided in 1986. I love to look at dates and see what else was going on in that particular year. And the funniest thing is, people who say that they've been doing the work. This case was decided in 86. The National Coalition in Cobra was founded in 1987, and that's a 36-year-old organization that says they've been doing the work. Really, what should have happened after this case, and I'm going to get into this case a little bit, is that they should have really got busy. Like, there is no reason. I saw somebody, I had to block somebody on my page today. I said, we're the responsible for this movement. No, that's a lie. No, you got to be kidding me. Yes, it is. You weren't doing nothing, child. You weren't doing nothing but the same thing you doing now. You cleaning your toenail. Like, these groups were not 36 years old. And you failed to mainstream it because you made it into something that was Pan-African. But these two this decision and the Cobra came around at the same time, and they have made zero progress. So let me just get to this case for 1 second. It's only a couple of things that we got to get through, but I want to, this case, and to give everybody an overview, this was a case where the Board of Education, I'm going to try to give a quick synopsis. Synopsis, not synopsis. The Board of Education had decided that they were trying to remedy discrimination and things of such, and it was time to lay people off. And they had brought in, quote unquote, minority teachers, and they said they ended up laying off white teachers who had, what do you call it when they have years? God, seniority. And they said the white teachers, the white teachers got laid off and they had seniority, and the minority teachers who may have been new on probation, right, were the ones who got put on or whatever. And then and then they, I think at some point they tried to say, no, don't do it that way. And then the minority said, no, you promised, because they were trying to figure out a way, if we bring these minority teachers on, how do we keep them? If what has to happen is that the newest teachers get laid off when it's time for a layoff. So how do we reverse what has been happening in America? So that's kind of I didn't get it nowhere near perfect, but that's kind of the general outline of what's happening in this Wygant versus Jackson Board of Education case, right? So I want you to pay attention to a few particular things. Justice Powell, now he wrote for the majority, as well did I think O'Connor, and then Thurgood Marshall wrote for the minority in terms of dissenting. So he wrote the majority opinion. But this is something that he said. This is very interesting. Justice Powell joined the Chief Justice and Justice Rehnquist concluded that as a means of accomplishing purposes that otherwise may be legitimate, the layoff provision is not sufficiently narrowly tailored. Pay attention to that, because what you're going to find is that they keep coming back to a policy having to be narrowly tailored, not broad Pan-Africanism, not global, not melanin-based, narrowly tailored. Other less intrusive means of accomplishing similar purposes, such as the adoption of hiring goals, are available. Justice White concluded that the respondent Board of Education's layoff policy has the same effect and is equally violative of the equal protection as integrating a workforce by discharging and hiring blacks until the latter comprise a suitable percentage of the workforce. Justice O'Connor concluded that the layoff provision is not narrowly tailored to achieve its asserted remedial purpose because it acts to maintain levels of minority hiring set by a hiring goal that has no relation to the remedying of employment discrimination. So what she was saying is that it's just not a remedy. Like, it's, yeah, you doing that, but it doesn't remedy anything, right? So let's go. Let's continue. Let's continue on, shall we? Let me see. Was that the right one? I think so. So let's go on here. The Court of Appeals, relying on the reasoning and language of the district's opinion, held that the board's interest in providing minority role models for its minority students, because that's what they said. They said, we want to provide minority role models. That's what the board said. We want to provide minority role models, right? That's what we want to do. So they held that the board's interest in providing minority role models for its minority students as an attempt to alleviate the effects of societal discrimination was sufficiently was sufficiently important to justify the classification embodied in the layoff provision. The court discerned a need for more minority faculty role models by finding that the percentage of minority teachers was less than the percentage of minority students. This court has never this court never has held that societal discrimination alone is sufficient. Right? Just come on. To justify a racial classification. Rather, the court has insisted upon some showing of prior discrimination by the governmental unit involved before allowing limited use of racial classifications in order to remedy such discrimination. The court's reasoning in Hazelwood School District versus United States illustrates that the relevant analysis in cases involving proof of discrimination by statistical disparity focuses on these disparities that demonstrate such prior governmental discrimination. So what they are saying to you and me, whether we like it or not, is that just having been discriminated against, a general sense of discrimination is not enough. You got to show me how this department, this district, or whoever discriminated and how you're going to remedy it. Just some type of general, what they call it in the thing, they call it amorphous.
That's crazy, family.
Amorphous is not enough. So let's just go to this next one real quick. We're gonna get in and out of this thick stuff. Don't worry, family. They've been in here reading the court case, and it's just a lot. Like, moreover, because the role model theory does not necessarily bear a relationship to the harm caused by prior discriminatory hiring practices, it actually could be used to escape the obligation to remedy such by justifying the small percentage of black teachers by reference to the small percentage of black students. Now, let me tell you something. Real quick. This knocks. I don't care what anybody says. This knocks. One thing I've always said in terms of black immigrants is what they need in terms of politics is anti-discrimination law. You don't qualify for reparations. But even if you did, what you look at when they talk about redress, they say discrimination is not enough. Just a general amorphous discrimination is not enough. That's what they're telling you. They're telling you you just can't say, well, America is discriminatory. You have to have something more. For us, that something more is that discriminatory. Our discriminatory is based in being anchored in slavery, that the government reneged on 40 acres and a mule, and that the government during our time was complicit in Jim Crow, was complicit in sharecropping and all that stuff, but it's all anchored in slavery. You never paid for that thing. You never paid for labor. You never paid for wages. Everything is anchored in slavery and everything that comes after it, because it has to be anchored in slavery. Because what they're telling you is that a general sense of discrimination. So you come here, you Mexican, you Indian, you black immigrant, and you say I'm discriminated against. They're saying that's not enough. That knocks it out the box, and it might make you a poison pill to any case we would bring. Well, what do you mean, Yvette? Well, let me just show you something.
Okay, that's later. Let's get some more on Marcus Garvey, and then we're out of here until tonight. Check this out, family. We're gonna leave in a bang.
The Ku Klux Klan, who Garvey met with, and we're going to voice argued that Africans, not African Americans, would lead struggles in Africa. Vociferously opposed the Ku Klux Klan, who Garvey met with, and we're going to get into that as well, and favored reason, science, and fact-based knowledge over emotional appeals and exaggerated claims to the masses, i.e., cult leader-isms. So
right.
That's
and
to yeah,
brother Carrier, it wasn't just, see, the crazy thing about your comment, you saying it was other Caribbeans that had complaints about or criticisms about Garvey, but it wasn't just them. There was a whole campaign with A. Philip Randolph and a couple of other guys, man, that where African Americans had some problems with what he was saying and doing. You understand? It wasn't just Caribbean immigrants that had problems with what he was doing. And to the other brother, I forget his name, Doc something. Was this his name? I wanted to answer because he said, "What are we going to do?" But actually, Logic kind of answered it already when he talked about what it was we were already
That's
doing.
right.
So
That's
he's
right.
saying, "What are you going to do?" No, what have we already been doing? See, that's the
right.
thing. It's not even about. He said that our usefulness to this empire is it doesn't exist anymore. The fact of the matter is that's not true. That's not true.
Disconnect. So when you come from somewhere else, you do shit like say, let me work with the Irish who ain't never been our friends in America, right? And show them reverence. There must be the way. Let me partner with them. No, let's partner with the Ku Klux Klan whose whole entire outfit is stained with our ancestors' blood. There is a disconnect. That's how you know. That's not one of us. Anybody who is
Did
coming
we
to history
pull
of
up the
freedmen.
pro-Jim Crow statements yet?
No, not
I
yet.
don't know.
You muted, Ali. So
my bad.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna look for it now.
Ali, you want to pull
service, whatever. I'm just gonna read a part of it, right? About this Garvey Must Go campaign that wound up taking effect and ultimately, I guess, helped to lead to his deportation. When Marcus Garvey first arrived in the United States in 1916, he quickly found his way to many of New York's most prominent Black radical activists and intellectuals, and at least briefly, Garvey enjoyed their support. But by 1920, A. Philip Randolph and other Black leaders, some of whom had supported Garvey after his arrival in the United States, came to believe that Garvey's program for Black advancement was unsound and that Garvey himself was a charlatan. Though they admired his skill as a propagandist, these prominent Black critics derided Garvey's proposed solutions for the problems of African Americans. They believed that his plans for Black progress, including the Black Star Line and the establishment of a Pan-African empire, were unrealistic and ill-advised. They considered the Universal Negro Improvement Association's grandiose titles and military regalia to be preposterous, and they thought Garvey, with his assumption of a regal posture under the title Provisional President of Africa, to be little more than a self-aggrandizing buffoon. A. Philip Randolph, who had introduced Garvey to his first American audience on a Harlem street corner, said Garvey had succeeded in making the Negro the laughingstock of the world. The federal investigations into the finances of Black Star Line, along with a blistering analysis of the shipping line by W.E.B. Du Bois in the NAACP's Crisis magazine, gave fuel to Garvey's Black critics. Randolph personally critiqued the economic feasibility of the Black Star Line in The Messenger, an influential magazine he co-edited with Chandler Owen, and accused Garvey of squandering the hard-earned money of his hardworking, poor supporters. Black opposition to Garvey coalesced into what came to be known as the Garvey Must Go campaign. Supporters of the campaign, known collectively as the Friends of Negro Freedom, intended to unmask Garvey as a fraud before his Black supporters. They also appealed to the federal government to step up investigations of irregularities in the Black Star Line and to look into alleged acts of violence on the part of Garvey's inner circle. The Garvey Must Go campaign gained momentum after Garvey held a secret meeting with Edward Young Clark, the leader of the Ku Klux Klan, in June of 1922. Immediately afterward, Randall and Owens' Messenger magazine published an article entitled Marcus Garvey, the Black Imperial Wizard, becomes messenger boy of the white Ku Klux Klan. Black leaders were further infuriated when they learned that Garvey, at a speaking engagement in New Orleans, remarked that because Black people had not built the railroad system, they should not insist on riding in the same cars with white patrons.
Now we got the quotes too. We found the quotes to all of that stuff.
Right, the actual quotes. So let me just read this paragraph and then I'll stop. The Messenger vowed to begin a rigorous editorial campaign against Garvey and promised to fire the opening gun in a campaign to drive Garvey and Garveyism in all its sinister viciousness from the American soil. The campaign from this point on was characterized by vitriolic personal attacks on both sides and by escalating threats of violence. Garvey Must Go meetings were violently dispersed by Garvey's followers. A. Philip Randolph
Like they
received.
doing in the chat. My bad. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's all good. We ain't going nowhere. Ain't nobody
We ain't
running
going
us over
nowhere.
there.
That's a fact.
A. Philip Randolph received the severed hand of a white man in the mail. It was, you see, it was accompanied by a note signed by the KKK, but Randolph believed the hand had been sent by the UNIA. I'm gonna stop sharing that because I'm gonna find too, and y'all could go in from there if y'all want to talk about that a little. I'm gonna find the actual news article where that was at and the quote that he made. Go ahead, bro.
I just want to say that the most interesting thing about that, right, and how it compares to what is continuously going on, and obviously was kind of like what's launched this whole type of thing to happen here, right? And what I'm talking about is in that article, you talked about how Philip Randolph introduced Garvey to his first American audience, freedman audience, yes, right? And so instead of Garvey, right, he meets A. Philip Randolph, who's already engaged in freedman justice work, right? We already got an agenda. We've been here. We know what we're supposed to do. Here comes a man who ain't been here but a couple months, and now he's taking over the movement. Look at that. Taking over the freedmen. What kind of arrogance and disrespect is that to the freedmen? And see, they continuously do us like that. That's why they come here now and feel comfortable talking about our reparations, talking about everything that ain't got nothing to do with them. That's the same thing Garvey did when he came over here. And just instead of joining the brothers and the freedmen saying, how can I help y'all brothers? How can I assist? And how can I get behind you brothers? No, y'all get out the way. Y'all don't know what y'all need to do for yourselves. I know what needs to be done. That is ultimately disrespectful. And the get Garvey out campaign needs to not. It was needed then,
and it's needed now. Talk to him.
The only
That's
difference
right.
is instead of getting Garvey out of the country, you need to get him out of your mind. His
Get him out of your mind, and that goes for Pan-Africanism. Period. We need a Garvey must go campaign, but it has to be modern. So Pan-Africanism must go campaign. We're doing today. Peace to who just came in? Buckhorse, DC, Braxton, the Snake Fiend family. We're gonna Ray is in the building. Okay, we're gonna close out right now, and I'll see you guys tonight. All right, appreciate you guys. Support is real. We got to find a way to notify everybody, maybe a Discord. But somebody said, Lord Maul said Discord, but does Discord send out of a notification? It has to be a way where I could just notify you guys, like separately from YouTube, because YouTube is not letting you guys know I'm live. So I'm trying to find out a way where I can notify you guys, like literally get a notification, sound, all I could think about is Facebook, Instant Messenger, WhatsApp, actual phone, where you put that, okay, put it back, we're leaving, where a sound can be given to let you guys know we're live and, get the lineage support. Because I got too many subscribers to only have, 90, 100. Like, there's no reason why we can't have 500, 1,000 folks at one time in the chat. So with that being said, family, we are out of here. And tonight, and if not tonight, see you tomorrow. Peace. Hope you guys enjoy.